Chapter 517. The reason why I became the #1 person in Korea is because many years ago, I fought against the 5 great experts in Korea. I defeated the 5 great experts with my chaotic hands. I'll let you experience it today. Inshur's lips moved slightly. Then, he took a deep breath and slowly stretched out his hands. He crossed his shoulders in front of his chest and slowly closed his eyes. He looked like he was praying as he murmured. If one took a closer look, they would discover that his chest was rapidly moving up and down like a waterspout. The frequency was very strange. Sometimes it was left, sometimes it was right, as if his heart was changing back and forth. Phew! A faintly discernible breathing sound came from his mouth. Phew! Phew! As the frequency of his chest beating increased, his breathing became more and more intense. At the same time, he spat out green and white gas from his mouth. The white gas wrapped around his hands like the hands of an immortal. Phew! A gentle breeze blew past. Everyone on the ground felt a stabbing pain on their faces. Then, they focused their eyes and saw gusts of wind blowing from afar. The wind was like a blade, and wherever it passed, the trees were all cut in half. What? What is this? Many people felt their scalps go numb. Dad, Daishiyu's pretty face changed. She could not help but grab Dai Tinglu's hand subconsciously. Dai Tinglu was equally shocked. Even he did not expect Inshur's spell to have reached the point where it could change the weather. Just when everyone thought that they were about to be swept away by the wind, they realized that the wind had soared into the sky and blown many clouds over. Boom! Large amounts of raindrops fell from the sky, but they strangely surrounded Inshur and remained motionless. Borrowing 3,000 chi, chaotic clouds, and rain, Inshur raised his hands above his head and clasped them together. At that moment, the raindrops that were circling around him gathered above his head. In the blink of an eye, they condensed into a huge hand. The hand was about 30 meters tall and stood tall. Everyone was dead silent. They could not believe what they were seeing. Go! Inshur gasped for breath and shouted in a low voice. The giant hand slowly opened its 5 fingers. It opened its palm and descended from the sky, grabbing at Yi Chen's head. Yi Chen looked extremely tiny before it, borrowing 3,000 chi, overturning the clouds and overturning the rain. This was Inshur's famous ultimate skill, hand of overturning clouds and rain. In the eyes of cultivators, every blade of grass and every tree in this world was condensed from chi. Even humans were no exception, let alone clouds and rain. Back then, Inshur had relied on this move to defeat 5 experts in the world and become the #1 person in Korea. Now that he had used his full strength again, its power was even more terrifying. It's just a small trick. How can it be called the hand of overturning clouds and rain? Yi Chen remained unmoved. Instead, he scoffed. A gleam flashed in his hand, and a sword shadow appeared in his hand. A sword light flashed across the sky like a thunderbolt. The sword light directly slashed towards the oncoming giant hand. Sword chi surged in all directions. The giant hand wanted to shatter the sword chi, but it could not do anything. With a loud bang, the 5 fingers of the giant hand were cut off. It was as easy as cutting tofu. This was the power of sword cultivators. Unbreakable. It could even slash the heavens. Not to mention a mere giant handprint. Break! Yi Chen slashed again. Ever since he returned to Earth, countless powerhouses had died in his hands. Most of them were true enemies with him. However, Inshur was different. This person could still maintain his most sincere state of mind when facing him. Such an opponent was worthy of respect. Boom! With a loud bang, a deep crack appeared on the broken giant hand from Yi Chen's second strike. Subsequently, it shattered and turned into countless raindrops that fell to the ground. Tap, tap, tap. With his famous skill broken, Inshur could not help but take a few steps back. His face was filled with unconcealable shock. If one took a closer look, they would realize that he had become much weaker. He was like an ethereal cloud that was about to dissipate at any time. An uproar broke out on the ground. The cultivation world of Korea fell silent. This time, the situation of the battle was clearer. No one said anything about a draw. The truth was right in front of them. Inshur had lost the upper hand in 2 rounds of attacks. Cough, cough, cough. Forget it, forget it. The light on Inshur's body was getting weaker and weaker. After coughing violently, he looked at the ground with a mournful gaze. Then he shook his head and said, "Looks like I can only use my last move." He looked at Yi Chun again with determination on his face. The light on his body that was getting weaker and weaker suddenly bloomed several times more. An old and weak voice resounded through the world. "Turning my body into a sword, heavenly sin trial." As soon as he finished speaking, his entire body became more and more blurry. The light on his body was extremely dazzling, and everyone subconsciously closed their eyes. When they opened their eyes again, they realized that Inshur had gradually turned into a huge black sword. The huge sword soared through the sky, and the sword gleam was oppressive. "No, don't." The little Taoist boy on the ground was stunned for a moment. Then he knelt on the ground with a thud and cried bitterly, "Grandpa, don't. You'll be scared out of your wits if you do that." He's burning his primordial spirit and turning his body into a sword. He wants to give Mad Southern Yi a fatal blow. Dai Tinglu cried out in shock after witnessing this. Primordial spirit. To put it bluntly, it was the 3 souls and 7 spirits. The 3 souls were divided into the heaven soul, the earth soul, and the life soul. After a person died, the heaven soul would ascend to the heavens, and the earth soul would linger in the land. Only the life soul would go to the legendary underworld to wait for reincarnation. Is that something that can be easily burned? As his voice fell, all the people of Korea's cultivation world knelt down and raised their heads to cry. Inshur, in order to protect the dignity of Korea, Inshur had actually chosen this step. Don't be sad. Although Inshur had already turned into a sword, his voice sounded again. "After I die, please bury my body at the foot of Peach Mountain. If Mad Southern Yi doesn't die, the cultivation world of Korea will submit." The moment he said that, everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Before they could react, the huge black sword that was floating in the air swept across the sky. It swallowed and spat out sword chi as it slashed at Yi Chun at an extremely fast speed. Sword chi that covered the sky and earth whistled endlessly. Amidst the surging sword chi, there was an old and illusory figure. The other party looked at Yi Chun, who was getting closer and closer with a carefree expression. "Mad Southern Yi, this old man's sword is called Heavenly Sin. Once the Heavenly Sin appears, everything will be destroyed, if you can take it. So what if the cultivation world of Korea submits to you?" Under everyone's shocked gazes, the huge black sword finally landed on Yi Chun. At that moment, the entire crimson afterglow peak shook violently as if it could not bear the weight and was about to collapse. Everyone felt their feet sway violently, and their bodies staggered and fell to the ground. They lay on the ground and trembled, their hearts filled with agitation. Someone raised his eyes and tried to see the battle in the sky. A golden sword light flashed across the sky and smashed the black giant sword into pieces. At the place where the golden sword light had first appeared, there was a golden sword light in the sky. A thin figure stood proudly in the sky. He was like a god. Boom! The golden sword gleam finally landed on the main peak of the crimson afterglow peak. With a loud bang, the earth shook and rocks fell. P.S. Chapter 2, there's still one more chapter. Chapter 518. Rumble. The entire crimson afterglow peak completely collapsed. Countless boulders fell towards the canyon below. The power caused the ground to shake crazily, as if an earthquake had descended. Such a huge tremor could even be felt by people within a radius of 100 miles. Countless people immediately looked in the direction of the crimson afterglow peak, their faces filled with shock. What? What happened? Is this an earthquake? Look, the crimson afterglow peak has collapsed. Is the heavens trying to fend Korea? Countless citizens of Han City were terrified and uneasy. The earthquake only lasted for 2 minutes. Seeing that no one was injured, many people secretly heaved a sigh of relief. However, their eyes were still sizing up the crimson afterglow peak in the distance, their hearts filled with curiosity. What exactly happened? It could actually cause such a fluctuation. What they did not know was that two world-shocking experts were fighting on the crimson afterglow peak. The reason for the earthquake was actually caused by the might of the battle. The ordinary citizens 100 miles away were already so terrified, let alone all the experts who had gone to the crimson afterglow peak to watch. In the face of the earth-shattering might, everyone lay on the ground and tried their best to grab onto something to borrow strength from, afraid that the falling boulders would crush them to death. Fortunately, there was a natural canyon not far in front of them, and all the boulders rolled into it. After the tremors subsided, everyone raised their heads to look at the smoke and dust in the sky. Their eyes revealed anticipation at the same time. They were more concerned about who had won the battle. No, to be precise, did Inshur, who had turned into a sword, kill the number one person in China, Mad Southern Yi, before he died? After all, this concerned the dignity of the cultivation world of the two countries. The people with the most complicated emotions were none other than the people from the cultivation world of Korea. Initially, they thought that they could kill Mad Southern Yi by inviting Inshur. Unexpectedly, after the two of them fought, Inshur was at a disadvantage. At that time, they all felt that the outcome of the battle was already decided. They did not expect Inshur to turn into a sword in the end. In their opinion, there was nothing more powerful and shocking than that sword. It was as if it could split the sky apart. If that sword could not kill Mad Southern Yi, was there anyone else in this world who could kill him? However, when everyone looked up at the sky, they did not see anything. Mad Southern Yi is dead? Someone asked subconsciously. As soon as that was said, the people of Korea's cultivation world immediately became excited. The remaining members of the Kim family even said with tears in their eyes, "He's dead. Mad Southern Yi is dead. Inshur killed him before he died. Patriarch, family head, your revenge has been avenged. That detestable Mad Southern Yi. He killed so many people from Korea's cultivation world, but in the end, he's the only one who died. That's too easy on him." Many people were overjoyed, but they still felt a little indignant. As expected of Inshur, he's already 100 years old, yet he's able to unleash such a strike. Mad Southern Yi can die in peace under his sword. Countless people couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Today's world-shaking battle that was hard to come by in 100 years was destined to be forever engraved in their hearts. "Dad, Mr. Yi, Dai Shiyu staggered, unable to accept it. What a pity. Dai Tinglu raised his head and looked at the scene of devastation after the battle. He sighed softly and said, with Mad Southern Ye's talent, if he was given another 20 years, he would truly be invincible in the world. However, this kid's actions are too high-profile and overbearing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lured Inshur out, and he wouldn't have perished together with Inshur." At this point, he shook his head slightly. "Mad Southern Yi, I'm a man of my word. On this day next year, I'll go to Tiannan to light an incense stick for you. Mr. Yi is dead." Lin Yinhua, who was in the crowd, turned pale. She almost fell to the ground. Chun Feng deliberately put on a sorrowful expression and patted her shoulder. He comforted her. "Yinhua, I can understand your feelings, but the dead can't be resurrected. My condolences." Although that was what he said, his eyes were brimming with excitement and schadenfreude. Everyone was immersed in the news of Inshur and Mad Southern Ye's deaths. However, at that moment, a loud laugh rang out. "Ha ha! Mad Southern Yi is dead. Li Zifeng stood up from the ground and laughed arrogantly. "Mad Southern Yi, I admit that you're very powerful, but you're still dead. What I regret is that I didn't tell you that I was the person who attacked you on Weibo." "What? That person was you?" Many Chinese martial artists glared at him. Li Zifeng was shocked and hurriedly hid behind a Korean expert. He sneered again and said, "It's me. So what?" He relied on the support of the experts from Korea, so he was not afraid that the Chinese martial artists would attack him. Even though his actions were despicable, in the eyes of the cultivators from Korea, he had helped them vent their anger. You're shameless." Dai Shiyu and Lin Yinhua said in unison. Li Zifeng was proud of himself. If Mad Southern Yi wasn't dead and appeared in front of me now, I, Li Zifeng, would teach him a lesson. Oh, is that so? At that moment, a faint voice was heard. The smile on Li Zifeng's face froze. Then, he subconsciously looked in the direction of the voice and saw a thin young man walking over from the canyon below. The young man's eyes were as cold as knives. The wind blew at his clothes as he walked over with his hands behind his back. It was Yi Chun. In an instant, the world fell into dead silence. Yi, Mad Southern Yi, Li Zifeng screamed and fell to the ground. His entire body trembled violently, as if he had seen a ghost. Mad Southern Yi isn't dead. How is this possible? Everyone stared blankly at the young man who was walking over. No, I don't believe it. How could he not die under Inshur's sword? At that moment, all the people from Korea's cultivation world beat their chests with their hands, almost vomiting blood. Obviously, this battle that concerned the dignity of the cultivation world of the two countries ended with Inshur's death and Mad Southern Ye's victory. Are you a ghost? You must be a ghost. Li Zifeng's eyes were filled with fear. Yi Chen's cold moonlight landed on him. Subsequently, he extended his hand and grabbed. How dare an ant-like person provoke me? No, Li Zifeng roared hysterically. Mad Southern Yi, don't go too far. One of the few powerhouses in Korea protected Li Zifeng at that moment. He looked at Yi Chun with a livid expression as his eyes flickered nonstop. He was the patriarch of the Li family, Li Junun. That's right, Mad Southern Yi. I have to say that you're really lucky. You didn't die under Inshur's sword. Another powerhouse from Korea stood out and stood side by side with Li Junun. He looked at Yi Chun coldly. However, you're very stupid. Even if you didn't die under Inshur's sword, you wouldn't be any better off. Why don't you find a place to hide and recuperate? How dare you appear? Kill him and avenge Inshur. Another expert took a step forward, his killing intent surging. Dai Tingla's expression changed when he heard that. He leaped forward and shouted, "Whoever dares to kill someone from China, I will kill his entire family. Those who offend China will be killed without mercy." A few Chinese powerhouses who came to watch also walked out and stood in front of Yi Chun, protecting him behind them. Chapter 519. Those who offend China will be killed without mercy. When more than 10 Chinese experts, led by Dai Tinglu, rushed out and protected Yi Chun behind them, the atmosphere in the entire area was extremely oppressive. The atmosphere in the entire world was extremely oppressive. The temperature dropped at an extremely terrifying rate, and the power in countless people's bodies skyrocketed crazily, causing the air to riot. The Han family's patriarch looked at Dai Tinglu with an incomparably gloomy gaze. He said with a fake smile, "Dai Tinglu, you dare to start a war with us for Mad Southern Yi?" "That's right." The Li family's patriarch spoke again. "Dai Tinglu, don't forget that this is Korea's territory. There are nearly 100 experts from Korea present, while there are only a dozen or so from China. What do you have to fight against us?" Dai Tinglu, Mad Southern Yi killed Inshur. We'll only take his life. As long as you don't interfere, you won't be implicated in today's matter. Another Korean expert stood up. After witnessing Yi Chun's strength, the reason why these people still dare to stand up was because Inshur's sword strike before he died was too terrifying. They believed that although Yi Chun was not dead, he was at least seriously injured. Moreover, he looked calm on the surface, so he was most likely holding on. This matter concerned the dignity of Korea's cultivation world. They had lost. If word got out, Korea's cultivation world would definitely not be able to raise their heads in the world. They would even become a laughing stock, and the Korean parliament would be furious. Therefore, they could not afford to lose. Therefore, in their opinion, as long as all the experts swarmed Yi Chun while he was seriously injured, they would definitely be able to kill him. By then, the situation would be different, and they would be able to give the Korean parliament an explanation. Hearing this, Dai Shiyu's expression changed slightly. That's right. This was someone else's territory, and the other party had the advantage in numbers. The Han family and the Li family's experts were not weaker than her father's. If her father wanted to protect Mr. Yi, it would be no different from ascending to the heavens. Just when she thought that Dai Tinglu would give up, she heard an extremely domineering voice. So what? Chinese men are born with an indomitable spirit. When have we ever been afraid of death? If you want to fight, then let's fight. When he said that, he suddenly took a step forward and shouted, "A man's path only takes one step. Don't look back at life, death, glory, and splendor. A man's blood is like iron, and his will is unwavering." A Chinese martial artist followed closely behind. Another Chinese martial artist stepped forward and guffawed. "A man's tears are the most precious. He will not retreat, even when facing 10,000 enemies alone. When a man is broken, blood will flow, and we will never turn back." Lin Yinao, an ordinary person, gritted her teeth and stood beside Dai Tinglu with determination. He knew I'll come back. Chun Feng's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly shouted, "This has nothing to do with you. Come back quickly. Yi Duan will definitely die." However, Lin Yinua's resolute gaze responded to him. When more than a dozen people uttered such lofty and ambitious words at the same time, their wantonly and cheerful voices resounded through the entire crimson afterglow peak like a great bell. Many people's expressions changed drastically. The Chinese martial artists were trying to protect Mad Southern Yi. Were the experts of the two countries going to war? Some of the experts from other countries sighed. "I wish I wasn't a Chinese man." The air was extremely heavy, and everyone was silent. The Han family's patriarch's face twitched a few times. Then, he sneered and said, "All right, you're courting death. Brother Wu, the two of you hold Dai Tinglu back. I'll lead the remaining experts to attack Mad Southern Yi. We must kill him." Over 100 experts from Korea unleashed their auras at the same time. Killing intent filled the entire world. Countless experts from other countries retreated dozens of steps, clearing the battlefield. "Old Wu, take Shiyu and leave," Dai Tinglu said without turning his head. Dai Shiyu rejected Old Wu's support and cried on the spot, "Dad, I'm not leaving. If we leave together. If we die together." Just as Dai Tinglu was about to berate her, he heard her cry again, "Dad, you've been a coward for decades for me. Today, I want to tell you that your daughter, Dai Tinglu, is not someone who's afraid of death." B asterisk starred. Although Dai Tinglu was cursing, he was laughing. "You're still putting on a show even when you're about to die. None of you will escape today." The Han family's patriarch smirked coldly. Subsequently, he charged at Yi Chun. "Kill! Kill!" The hundreds of experts from Korea behind him charged out at the same time. Killing intent filled the entire world, causing countless experts from other countries to suck in a breath of cold air. The war between the two countries had begun. "Kill!" The blood and energy in Dai Tinglu's body surged. With a roar, he was the first to charge out. A wide palm suddenly landed on his shoulder, forcefully suppressing the power in his body. Mad Southern Yi, he could not help but turn around to look at Yi Chun. The sudden scene caused everyone to stop. They looked at Yi Chun by instinct as their eyes flickered nonstop. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Chun stood with his hands behind his back and smiled lightly. "You and I are both comrades of China. Since we're comrades, how can I, Mad Southern Yi, sit back and watch my comrades bleed and die for me?" "You're still saying that at a time like this," Dai Tinglu said in a deep voice. Yi Chun interrupted him and glanced at the dozen or so Chinese experts who were protecting him. He said softly, "Even though I, Mad Southern Yi, am injured, I'm not someone that a bunch of useless people can bully. Everyone, please step aside and watch how I deal with this bunch of trash." After saying that, Yi Chun took a step forward and stood in front of all the Chinese powerhouses. With his hands behind his back, he sized up the Korean powerhouses in front of him coldly and said word by word, "Who else wants to kill me? Mad Southern Yi? Stand out and let me have a look." After saying that, a trace of scarlet blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His face turned slightly pale. Seeing this scene, many people's eyes flickered nonstop. They were excited, and some of them revealed meaningful smiles. Whoosh! An expert from Goryeo leaped out. "Mad Southern Yi, I'm Sun Ejian from Goryeo. I'd like to seek your guidance today. I'm Song Shanshi from Fusang Country. Mad Southern Yi, you once killed someone from Fusang Country in Hong Kong. Today, you must pay with your blood. A Fusang Country warrior sneered. Fastest computer update, : I'm from Russia. In an instant, dozens of experts from other countries leaped out from the crowd. These people stood on the side of the Korean cultivators and looked at Yi Chun with killing intent. This scene caused the expressions of Dai Ting Lu and the rest to change. Just the people from Korea's cultivation world were enough for them to deal with. They did not expect so many experts from other countries to appear in the blink of an eye. Ha ha ha. The Lee family's patriarch laughed out loud. Mad Southern Yi. Oh, Mad Southern Yi, I didn't expect so many people want you dead. This proves that the heavens want you dead. This time, not only will you die, but even your Chinese martial artist will die. Yichen did not move. His calm expression was like ice that would not melt for 1,000 years. As his clothes fluttered, an extremely indifferent voice sounded. There's only me, Mad Southern Yi, in China. What's there to be afraid of? P.S. I'm back. There's still 2 chapters left. I'm writing them. Don't worry, everyone. Chapter 520. I, Mad Southern Yi, am the only one in China. What's there to be afraid of? On the somber crimson afterglow peak, everyone stared blankly at the proud and cold figure, their hearts trembling. Even Dai Ting Lu, Dai Shiyu, and the rest were no exception. That was the kind of person he was. Was he actually trying to fight the powerhouses of various countries by himself? How arrogant did he have to be to say that? As expected of Mad Southern Yi. Mad Southern Yi, I have to say that you're too arrogant. Today, let's end your undefeated record. A loud shout was heard. Subsequently, the Fusang Country's warrior, Song Shanshi, had a sinister look in his eyes. He suddenly waved his sleeve, and the power in his hand skyrocketed. Subsequently, his body charged forward, and a dazzling samurai sword slashed at Yi Chen's head. The commotion caused many powerhouses' expressions to change drastically. Their scalps went numb because even someone like the Han family's patriarch had to retreat from Song Shanshi's current aura. Die. A cold, killing intent flashed through Song Shanshi's eyes. He suddenly slashed 9 times. The 9 slashes contained extreme saber chi, as if he wanted to cut Yi Chun into 10 pieces. Subsequently, a red light flashed. Amidst everyone's shocked expressions, the 9 red saber shadows that filled the air fell to the ground. When they looked at Song Shanshi again, a samurai sword pierced through his chest. Strangely, the tip of the samurai sword was still pointing at Yi Chun. His body fell to the ground with a loud bang. His eyes were wide open as if he had died with a grievance, because he did not see how Yi Chun attacked from the beginning to the end. Whoosh! An uproar broke out in the crowd. Even though they knew that Yi Chun was very powerful, they did not expect Song Shanshi, a powerhouse, to die in just 1 blow. Amazing, amazing! Dai Ting Lu was shocked. Dai Shiyu's eyes widened in disbelief. Yi Chun stood with his hands behind his back. His expression remained the same. Who else wants to die? Many people's expressions changed when they heard that. Mad Southern Yi, let's fight you. Sun Yijian, the powerhouse from Gaoligua, and the 5 powerhouses from Russia and ancient Egypt rushed out. They charged at Yi Chun with terrifying attacks and pressure. Die! Yi Chen's eyes were as cold as a knife. Before the 4 powerhouses at the front could even get close to him, their bodies suddenly exploded, turning into a bloody mist that filled the sky. They didn't even have time to scream. Gaoligua, Sun Yijian, who was at the back, was horrified. He wanted to retreat by instinct, but to his surprise, a powerful suction force came and Yi Chun grabbed his neck. Mad Southern Yi, you can't kill me. I'm from Gaoli. He was so shocked that he wanted to die. He no longer cared about his identity and begged for mercy. He was filled with regret. However, Yi Chun looked at him coldly. A mocking smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. You can't fight back when I hit you. If you fight back, I'll deal a heavy blow. If you deal a heavy blow, I'll kill you. If you deal a heavy blow, I'll destroy your entire clan. Furthermore, it's just a small country. How dare defend my heavenly might? No, Sun Yijian shouted. Bang! Before he could finish speaking, he exploded into a cloud of blood mist. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. They were powerhouses from many countries. Any one of them could suppress an area. They did not expect that they would not be able to fight back at all in front of Yichun. They were like pigs and dogs being slaughtered. A powerhouse suddenly reacted. He looked at Yichun with resentment. Mad Southern Yi, you're really vicious. You actually pretended to be injured to trick us. As soon as he finished speaking, the expressions of the people from Korea changed drastically. The expressions of the cultivators of Korea changed drastically. The patriarch of the Han family immediately roared, "Run, run quickly." With that, he took the lead and dashed out. He wished he could have 2 more legs. Pretending to be injured? The rest were also scared out of their wits. Without thinking, they fled in all directions, almost scared out of their wits. What a joke. If Yichun was injured, they might still have a chance of survival. However, Yichun was pretending to be injured. No matter how many people they had, they would not be enough to kill him. Run? Where do you think you're going? Since you have the intention to kill me, you should be prepared to die. Yichun smirked coldly. With a flash, he leaped behind a Korean powerhouse. That person's expression changed, and all the hair on his body stood on end. Mad Southern Yi. How dare you? Bang! Yichun's response was a punch from him. That person's body exploded on the spot. Yichun did not stop at all. He caught up to another American powerhouse. The American powerhouse was shocked to death. He threw a punch with a backhand, and with a scream, his entire body was torn into pieces. Die. Another England powerhouse was killed by Yichun with a single punch. Almost in the blink of an eye, the powerhouses from other countries who had stood up to kill Yichun with Korea's cultivation world were all killed by Yichun. Countless people's hearts skipped a beat when they saw that. At this moment, they finally believed why Yichun dared to say that as long as Mad Southern Yi was in China, there was nothing to be afraid of. This person is really ruthless and decisive. Fortunately, we didn't offend him. Many powerhouses who had not expressed their stance earlier felt their scalps go numb as they watched the scene. However, they were secretly glad that they did not stand up and express their stance. When Yichun's figure appeared before the Han family's patriarch and the rest like a ghost, the patriarch's heart trembled. Mad Southern Yi, let us go. Korea's cultivation world is convinced. We're really convinced. At this moment, they were truly afraid. They were afraid of Yichun. How could this guy before them be human? He was clearly a devil, a fiend, the reincarnation of a killing god. Whoever offended him would be unlucky. F***CK, the dignity of Korea's cultivation world. How could it be more important than their own lives? Yichun lowered his head and looked at the Han family's patriarch and the rest coldly. His emotionless voice was heard. I was benevolent, but I slaughtered all living beings. I was moral, but I danced with evil. I was lowly, but I ruled the world. From today onwards, Korea's cultivation world will cease to exist. Be starred. How dare you? The Han family's patriarch and the other powerhouses roared. At the next moment, a shocking sword light rose from the ground and pierced through the sky like a huge pillar of light. It also pierced through everyone's vision. The air froze. When everyone opened their eyes again, they were instantly petrified, as if they had seen something unbelievable. They looked over. The flat ground where the people of Korea's cultivation world were originally located no longer existed. Replacing it was a deep ravine, as if it had been forcefully flattened by a sword. As for the Han family's patriarch and the rest of the people from Korea's cultivation world, they had all disappeared. The entire world fell into a deathly silence. Everyone's chest rose and fell as they stared at the thin figure that was only a few hundred feet away. Their eyes were filled with fear and shock. Korea's cultivation world was completely destroyed. Not a single one of them survived. Those were all the powerhouses in Korea. There were more than 100 of them, and every single one of them was a famous person in Korea. However, all of them died under Yichun's sword. Chapter 5:21. Everyone's gazes were focused on Yichun. Although there was no blood, no broken limbs, and only gravel on the ground. Everyone could feel a chill crawling up their spines and into the top of their heads. A sword swept across the sky and killed hundreds. A powerhouse's lips trembled nonstop. One person suppressing an entire country. This is one person suppressing an entire country. In this world, other than Mad Southern Yi, who else can do this? That's right. Even Inshur's sword couldn't kill him. It didn't even cause any damage to him. Such a person is already invincible in the world. Who else can kill him? Another powerhouse muttered to himself. This guy is really ruthless. Dai Tinglu's face twitched a few times. In the end, he could only say one sentence. This time, Korea is going crazy. With this person in China, what is there to be afraid of? The Chinese powerhouse beside him could not help but nod. However, the shock in his heart could not be erased. He continued, however, after all, the people who died were all elites of Korea's cultivation world. How can Korea accept this outcome? That's right. Dai Tinglu nodded slightly. Then, he took a deep breath and said, but with reason on our side, we're not afraid of Korea no matter how much trouble they cause, even if they go to the UN. Reason on our side? A Chinese powerhouse looked at him with a strange expression. He thought to himself, looks like you, the #1 person in Shanghai, are also unreasonable. First, Mad Southern Yi killed his way into Korea, destroyed Jindo, killed Kim Tiansheng, and lured Inshur out until this situation. No matter how he looked at it, it did not seem like Mad Southern Yi was in the right? Sensing his expression, Dai Tinglu's gaze was somewhat unfriendly. Old Wang, you don't seem to agree with me? Why don't we spar now? I'm a very reasonable person. I agree. The Chinese martial artist hurriedly nodded. Spar with you? Are you kidding me? I still want to live for a few more years. Mr. Yi. Dai Shiyu's beautiful eyes stared blankly at the figure standing proudly between heaven and earth. Her emotions surged like a tidal wave, and her eyes could not help but be a little dazed. Such a person was even more outstanding than his father. She could imagine how much of an uproar it would cause when Yi Chen's achievements were spread back to China. Many outstanding women would fall head over heels for him. What a pity. Mr. Yi already had a family. Thinking of this, her eyes could not help but dim. That's right. How could I, Dai Shiyu, have the chance to become such a person? Compared to him, Lin Yin'an, who was on the other side, was not much better. However, she did not have any thoughts. She was only shocked by Yi Chen's power. I should have known that Mr. Yi is Mad Southern Yi. Lin Yin'an muttered to herself. How can a person with such bearing be an ordinary person? Compared to him, Chun Feng is far inferior. Previously, she had felt that with Chun Feng's identity as a second-generation nouveau riche, he could be considered one of the more outstanding ones among his peers. Hence, when facing Chun Feng's pursuit, although she did not agree immediately, she did not reject him either. However, on this trip to Korea, after getting to know Yi Chun, she realized how unbearable Chun Feng was. Especially when the cultivation world of Korea joined forces to force Yi Chun. Chun Feng actually chose to watch from the sidelines when it concerned the dignity of China. He was inferior to a woman like her. She shook her head secretly and made up her mind. I'll tell Chun Feng when I go back this time. He isn't worthy of me. Just as the entire place was dead silent, two extremely discordant voices rang out. Chun Feng pressed Li Zifeng to the ground, clenched his fists, and kept smashing his face. Who asked you to scold the Chinese? Who asked you to provoke Mr. Yi? I'll King beat you to death. Li Zifeng's face was swollen from the beating, and he screamed in pain. Chun Feng threw him in front of Yi Chun like a dead dog and said while trembling, Mr. Yi, this bastard attacked you on Weibo previously. I've never liked him since a long time ago. This time, I'll teach him a lesson for you. Yi Chun glanced at him coldly. Just one look. Chun Feng felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He knelt on the ground and said while trembling, Mr. Yi, I've neglected you before. I was blind to not recognize you. I hope that you won't hold it against me on account of the fact that we're both Chinese. Shameless. Lin Yinhua and Dai Shiyu cursed at the same time. If it weren't for the fact that you're Chinese, you would have died a long time ago. Yichen did not look at him anymore and landed next to Dai Shiyu. Just as he was about to speak, he received a call. "Hello, is this Mr. Yi?" It was Qi Wanqing. She quickly said over the phone, "Mr. Yi, where are you now? I have something urgent to tell you. It's about Qianqian. I'll be right there." Yi Chen's expression froze. Mad Southern Yi won. Not only did he kill the #1 person in Korea, Inshur, he even destroyed all the elites of Korea's cultivation world. At the same time, the result of the battle between Yi Chun and Inshur spread like a tornado. The first place it covered was Korea, followed by China, and even the entire Southeast Asia. The entire Chinese cultivation world was in an uproar. F***CK. Isn't Mad Southern Yi a little too fierce? Inshur has been boasted to be a legend by Korea. He's just short of being a reincarnation of an immortal. In the end, wasn't he still ended by Mad Southern Yi? He even implicated the entire cultivation world of Korea. As expected of the undefeatable Mad Southern, he kills gods and Buddhas. This battle has really brought honor to China. That's right. I want to see what else Korea has to be so arrogant. Their bragging is really like a rookie playing basketball. Rookie Cohen. Who the F***CK did I provoke? Give birth to Mad Southern Yi and marry to Mad Southern Yi. Not only was China in an uproar, but the entire Southeast Asia and even the entire world were shaken. All the major forces were discussing this. After this battle, Mad Southern Yi replaced Inshur and jumped to the 4th place on the world ranking. In the entire world, there are no more than 3 people who can defeat him. This is an extremely dangerous person. Once his bottom line is touched, he will definitely be ruthless and kill to the end. He is like a demon king. Wall Street Evening News. Compared to the word demon king, I prefer to call Mad Southern Yi a tyrant. When the emperor is angry, millions of corpses and blood will flow. On this day, Mad Southern Yi's name shook the entire world. He was feared by all the major forces, and he was listed as one of the people that should not be provoked. On this day, countless young girls crazily searched for everything related to Mad Southern Yi. There were even countless beauties who shouted that they were willing to start a romantic relationship with Mad Southern Yi. They were even willing to pay for it. As the host, Korea, at this moment, it was filled with dark clouds. Chapter 5:22. Compared to the shock in China and the outside world, however, the interior of Korea was gloomy. When Inshur died in battle, and nearly 100 experts from Korea's cultivation world died in the hands of Mad Southern Yi, all the remaining cultivators in Korea subconsciously did not believe it. One had to know that there were more than 100 experts, not 100 pigs. Even if 100 pigs lined up for Mad Southern Yi to kill one by one, it would still take some time and effort, right? However, when they received news from all directions, they had no choice but to accept this reality. What followed was the anger of all the cultivators in Korea. Mad Southern Yi is simply too arrogant. He treats Korea like nothing and almost exterminated the cultivation world of Korea. If we don't take revenge, we won't be human. Mad Southern Yi alone suppressed the cultivation world of Korea. This time, Korea has become the laughingstock of the world. Yes, a life for a life. We can't let them leave Korea alive. Everyone, use your connections. We must let the parliament judge Mad Southern Yi. For a moment, the Korean Forum was in an uproar. The people were furious, and countless Korean cultivators held banners on the streets of Korea to demonstrate. The general content of the banners was nothing more than a request to kill Mad Southern Yi. Ever since the Kim family was almost wiped out, only the Lee family and the Han family remained in Korea. At this moment, the expressions of the people from the two families were uncertain. The two families were arguing endlessly at the gathering place, and they were extremely angry. The head of the Han family, Han Winsong, raised his hand to signal for everyone to quiet down. Then, he looked at the head of the Lee family, Lee Pwai, with a dark expression. "Brother Lee, what do you think we should do now?" When he said this, his hands were trembling. The patriarchs of the Han family and the Li family had been killed by mad Southern Yi one after another. Countless elite forces had been killed and injured. Now, these two so-called wealthy families were just empty shells. What else can we do? Family head, of course, will ask the parliament to carry out a military judgment on mad Southern Yi. A member of the Han family said indignantly. Another person also stood up, his eyes bloodshot. Yes, we'll ask the parliament to send out armed forces. No matter how strong mad Southern Yi is, he's still human. Can he fight against a country by himself? Don't tell me he can withstand missiles. Well said. His words immediately attracted everyone's approval. For a moment, the entire hall was in an uproar again. Silence. The Li family's master, Li Puai, scolded. Then, he said with a cold smile, asking the council to punish mad Southern Yi? Are you trying to escalate the conflict to that extent? Don't forget that the battle between Inshur and mad Southern Yi was carried out in front of the experts from various countries. The parliament also tacitly agreed to it. China did not express its stance either. It can be said to be fair and just. As soon as these words came out, many of the older generation secretly nodded. The decisive battle between the two countries had been tacitly approved by the two countries, and there were so many outsiders who had witnessed it. If Korea went back on their word, wouldn't it be equivalent to slapping their own face? They would only become a laughing stock, and outsiders would say that they couldn't afford to lose. Moreover, the Han family's patriarch, the Li family's patriarch, and the rest also wanted to kill mad Southern Yi after that, which was why they were killed in the end. If you wanted to kill them, would you not let them fight back? Most importantly, if the council really launched a military judgment on mad Southern Yi, how much military power would they need to keep him here? A division or an army? How much military technology would he need? It was rumored that mad Southern Yi could fight a warship with a sword. How would they know if he would catch a missile with his bare hands? If the other party really caught it and threw it into any part of Korea, how many people would die? Taking 10,000 steps back, even if Korea killed mad Southern Yi at all costs, their internal affairs would definitely be empty. Who could guarantee that the surrounding countries that were spying on Korea would not take any action? Especially, how would they face the anger of China? That's right. Han Wenbin agreed with Li Puai's words. He said in a deep voice, now that the Han family's patriarch and the Li family's patriarch are dead, we have lost the patriarch's protection. The situation is not good to begin with. If we play our cards to deal with mad Southern Yi, we won't be far from being annexed. Li Puai's eyes flicker nonstop. Although most of the elites of Korea had been killed by mad Southern Yi, there are still some people who did not go to watch the battle who survived. Who knew if these people would take advantage of the two wealthy families? The dead were gone, and the most important thing was how to survive. Therefore, the biggest problem for the Han family and the Li family was how to protect themselves. This was a clan society. It was very realistic. Everything was based on benefits. Someone's face was filled with indignation. Are we just going to let mad Southern Yi go? Let him go. Han Wenbin immediately sneered. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. Not only did mad Southern Yi kill countless people from Korea, but he also killed many powerhouses from other countries. His actions are equivalent to directly offending countless powerhouses. Do you think they will let this go? Just as everyone was discussing mad Southern Yi, Yi Chun, who was the main character, appeared in a high-end villa. Chi Wanqing, who was dressed in a plain dress, was standing at the side. Her head was lowered, and her fingers were clasped tightly together. She did not dare to look at Yi Chun, as if she was a child who had made a mistake and felt guilty and uneasy. Yi Chun took a sip of the black tea in his cup and frowned. Are you saying that you adopted Qian a long time ago, and she was taken away this morning? He never expected that Chi Wanqing would adopt Qian, whom he had worked so hard to find. He did not even realize that Chi Wanqing was with him that day. It can only be said that fate made a fool out of people. Why, yes, Chi Wanqing buried her head even lower. If one took a closer look, they would notice that her soft body was trembling slightly. After all, she had lied to Yi Chun about this. After witnessing Yi Chun kill Kim Wenjie, She was afraid that Yi-chun would kill her in anger. Why didn't you tell me when I was with you at the hotel yesterday? Why did you only tell me now? Yi-chun looked at her with a judgmental expression. If Qi Wanqing had told him Qianqian's whereabouts earlier, he would have been able to pick her up earlier, and what happened later would not have happened. Qi Wanqing clenched her fists tightly and mustered up her courage to look at him. She pursed her lips. I thought you were a bad person at first. I was afraid that you would hurt Qianqian. At this point, a hint of guilt flashed across her face. Later, I asked Qianqian, and only then did I know that you were the big brother who adopted her. Mr. Yi, I misunderstood you. I'm sorry. Who attacked you last night? Also, who took Qianqian away? Yi-chun came to a realization, and his anger toward her weakened a lot. I don't know. I was going to contact you last night to tell you that Qianqian was at my house, but I fainted. Qi Wanqing shook her head slightly. She tried her best to remember something, but she could not remember anything. But the person who took Qianqian away was a white-haired young man, just like you, Mr. Yi. P.S. Chapter 1 and more. Chapter 523. Like me, Yi-chun was stunned at first, but he immediately understood what she meant. She must be a cultivator like him. Mr. Yi, this person is very scary. Qi Wanqing took a deep breath and said slowly, he said that he wanted to bring Qianqian to find someone. Every time I opened my mouth to tell Qianqian about you, he would stare at me coldly. His gaze was very scary. It was like a demon king who was indifferent to life and death. At this point, she suddenly could not find the words to describe it. Her pretty face turned pale. Yi-chan said in a deep voice, "What else did he say?" Before he left, he asked me to pass a message to you on his behalf. He said that if you want to see Qianqian, go to Incheon Port to look for him. He's waiting for you there. Qi Wanqing said thoughtfully. Incheon? Yi-chan frowned slightly. Qi Wanqing quickly explained. Incheon is a city in Korea. It's also the second largest port in Korea. It's close to the Yellow Sea. I guess he wants to return to China from Incheon. Thank you, Yi-chan said from the bottom of his heart. Then, a magic bracelet appeared in his hand. This is a gift for taking care of Qianqian for the past few days. No, there's no need. Qi Wanqing quickly waved her hand and refused. This is what I should do. Qianqian is a very obedient child. I like her very much. Yi-chun, don't like to owe others favors in my life. Just accept it. Yi-chun handed the magic bracelet to her and walked out of the room without looking back. I'll inform the Park family. From now on, no one will dare to touch you in Korea's entertainment industry. Wait, Qi Wanqing stopped him subconsciously. When Yi-chun turned around to look at her, she could not help but say, Mr. Yi, well, will I have a chance to see Qianqian again? Let's see if fate allows it. Yi-chun did not stop. He turned around and left. Yi-chun could understand that Qi Wanqing had adopted Qianqian behind his back. After all, she was doing it for Qianqian's safety. Moreover, Qianqian was living on the streets. If Qi Wanqing had not taken her in, who knew how much hardship she would have suffered? The only thing that puzzled him was the identity of the white-haired young man who had suddenly appeared. He actually made Qianqian leave with him willingly. However, no matter what, Yi-chun had to make a trip to Incheon. It could be considered as his last effort for Qianqian. At the same time, he would give himself an explanation. Therefore, after leaving Qi Wanqing's house, Yi-chun went to the Park family again. He specially instructed them to take care of Qi Wanqing in the future. Then he took out his flying sword and flew toward Incheon. As he did not take a plane, ship, or any other form of transportation, many Koreans were disappointed. Although these people did not dare to show up openly to seek revenge on Yi-chun, they did not dare to show up openly. However, they still had many tricks up their sleeves. For example, they had installed time bombs on more than 10 planes. As soon as Yi-chun dared to step onto the plane would be detonated. As for the lives of the other passengers on the plane, it was not their concern. In their opinion, as long as they could kill Mad Southern Yi and avenge the people of Korea, it was fine even if they suffered some losses. Seoul Hotel. He left. Dai Tinglu looked out the window with his hands behind his back. His expression was a little complicated. This kid is really unreasonable. I helped him so much, but he left just like that. He didn't even say goodbye to me. The most outrageous thing is that not only did he leave, he even stole my daughter's soul. Is it easy for me to raise a daughter? Old Wu coughed nonstop. Cough, cough. Old thing, why are you coughing? Dai Ting Lu was a little unhappy. Nothing, nothing. Old Wu hurriedly shook his head. However, he could not stop muttering in his heart. Before this, when you didn't know that he was mad Southern Yi, didn't you tell him to stay away from Shiyu? She even wanted to slap him and send him flying into outer space. Now, he actually said such a thing. Korea Airport. A man and a woman were tugging at each other at the airport, causing many pedestrians to look at them. Inua, can you give me another chance? Inua, I beg you. Let go. A delicate shout rang out. Lin Inua slapped Chun Feng's hand away and said coldly, Chun Feng, I told you, it's impossible between us. In the future, you can go your own way, and I'll go my own way. Why? Did you change your mind about me because of Mad Southern Yi? Chun Feng's face was flushed red. He said unwillingly, Yes, I admit that Mad Southern Yi is very powerful, but do you think he will fall for you? Didn't you see that when young Miss Dai from the Dai family in Shanghai looked at Mad Southern Yi, her eyes almost turned into water? You're really hopeless. Lin Inua's delicate body trembled. She looked at him with incomparable coldness and disappointment. She carried her suitcase and quickly walked to the entrance. Incheon City, Korea. Above the vast sea, the waves churned. Countless seagulls soared in the blue sky. From time to time, they would sweep over the two figures above the sea and let out cheerful cries. Uncle, there are so many seagulls. Uncle, these seagulls are so bad. They poop on my face. It stinks. Tui, tui, tui. An incomparably cheerful and tender voice spread across the sea. A white-haired young man stepped proudly on the surface of the sea with his hands behind his back. The young man was dressed in white, and a 10-meter-wide wave appeared under his feet. The wave carried him forward. Beside him, there was a little girl of about 4 or 5 years old tightly gripping the corner of his shirt. She raised her head and looked at the soaring seagulls in the sky, cheering continuously. From time to time, she would wipe her dirty face with her sleeve. After a while, the little girl seemed to be a little disinterested. She raised her head and looked at the white-haired young man pitifully. Uncle, where are you taking Qian to find Grandpa's son? Go to where he is. The white-haired young man's expression was cold. He was a man of few words. He walked very slowly, and along the way, he would leave a trace of his aura, as if he was waiting for someone. Just as the little girl was about to speak, she saw the white-clothed young man suddenly turn around and look at the sea behind him. At the intersection of heaven and earth, a young man in green was quickly rushing over. A moment ago, the other party was still 1,000 meters away. The next moment, the other party was within reach. Big brother, it's Big brother. After seeing the young man's appearance clearly, the little girl beside the white-clothed young man immediately cheered excitedly. Big brother, Qian is here. Who else could the green-clothed young man be but Yi-chun? Yi-chun stopped less than 10 steps away from the white-clothed young man and nodded at the blushing little girl. He then looked at the white-clothed young man and said expressionlessly, I'm afraid it's inappropriate for you to take Qian away without my permission, right? At the same time, another 2 shocking waves swept over from the north and south. It was like a tsunami had erupted. Chapter 524. Above the vast sea, 2 earth-shattering waves swept over from the north and south. The sound shook several kilometers, as if it could topple mountains and overturn the seas. A few figures could be vaguely seen among them. At the same time, an eerie voice rang out. That voice seemed to have caused the entire ocean to boil. Sure, Qianhan, hand over the netherworld token and I'll spare your life. Yi-chun squinted slightly. He could not help but take a good look at the white-haired young man before him. These people were clearly coming for him. These people were not weak at all. Wait for me. I'll go kill a few people and come back. A dark gleam flashed across the white-haired young man's cold eyes. The natural aura from before was nowhere to be seen, and it was replaced by a sharp, killing intent and cold-blooded ruthlessness. As soon as he finished speaking, a white, robe suddenly leaped towards the wave in the south. The young man let out a long roar, and the aura on his body exploded. Without his help, Qian was about to fall from the surface of the sea. Yichen stretched out his hand and carried the little girl in his arms. "Uncle!" The little girl's face turned pale as she looked at the white-clothed young man who flew out. She said with tears in her eyes, "Big brother, can you help Uncle? These bad guys have been chasing Uncle and Qian all the way. Don't worry, they're no match for your uncle." Yichen comforted her with a smile. Although he did not know who the white-clothed young man was, he could sense that the other party was very powerful. Thinking to this point, he lowered his head to look at Qian in his arms. Then, he looked at the white-clothed young man in the distance, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. Above the vast sea, a white-clothed young man with hair, like snow stepped on the churning seawater to face the huge wave that was charging at him. His expression was calm. Behind him, a huge white wave slowly rose like a waterfall. It flew out from behind him like a silver dragon soaring into the sky. The young man rode the silver dragon and charged into the huge wave domineeringly. Boom! The two waves collided with each other, and a shock wave spread wildly in all directions like a tsunami. "Oh no, retreat!" A blood-curdling scream rang out, after which three elderly figures appeared from the waves. The three of them were extremely shocked and wanted to retreat. At this time, the young man used his hand as a blade. He raised his hand and brought it down, and the three heads leaped into the sky. The whole process seemed to have happened in an instant. Meanwhile, the wave from the north swept over in a few breaths, and then 5 figures leaped out from it. Each of them was dressed in simple and unadorned attire, and they were all over 50 years old. After seeing the white-haired young man kill 3 people with a raise of his hand, the green-robed old man leading the 5 was shocked and furious. "Impudent! Shi Qianhan, how dare you kill someone from my Shao clan? I still dare to kill you." The white-haired youth instantly returned with a cold expression. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the 5 of them changed, causing the green-clothed old man in the lead to immediately throw a dark green jade pendant at him. "Shi Qianhan, take a look at what this is first. This is my junior sister's personal item. Why is it in your hands?" The white-clothed young man held the jade pendant, and his calm expression finally changed. "I'm not afraid to tell you that before we came to kill you, the clan leader had already brought people to destroy your sword pavilion. Your junior sister is now in the hands of our Shao clan." The green-clothed old man sneered. "If you don't want her to be harmed at all, it's best not to resist. Hand over the netherworld token obediently and come back with us." As soon as he finished speaking, "Sword pavilion?" Yichen's eyes lit up when he heard that. The white-haired young man's body trembled slightly. Then he closed his eyes in despair and said bitterly, "I, Shi Qianhan, betrayed the sword pavilion 50 years ago. I have nothing to do with the sword pavilion. Why? I gave up the position of the future pavilion master of the sword pavilion and failed to live up to my master's expectations. I didn't even hesitate to become the enemy of the world and become a devil that everyone wanted to kill. I just wanted to see my you or why. Why are you forcing me?" The green-clothed old man shouted, "Shi Qianhan, kneel." "Uncle." Qian, who was in Yi Chen's embrace, cried. Subsequently, she looked at the 5 old men in green timidly. "Grandpas, can you not bully me? I'm a good person. Where did this little girl come from?" One of the old men sneered and subconsciously slapped Qian. Qian's face turned pale, and she shrunk into Yi Chen's embrace subconsciously. Yi Chen's expression turned cold. Just when he was about to attack, he heard another old man suddenly stop him. "Third brother, stop." The other party first looked at Qian, then he seemed to have thought of something. He said to the green-clothed old man beside him in surprise and joy, "Boss, do you think this child is the one from back then?" The green-clothed old man's gaze froze for a moment before he laughed out loud. "Ha ha, Shi Qianhan. Oh, Shi Qianhan, I didn't expect you to find this child before us. It's really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance." With that, he extended his hand towards Qian and grinned sinisterly. Little fellow, come back with me obediently. You have no idea that the entire Shang Santian has been looking for you for 50 years. Big brother. Qian could not help but shrink into Yi Chen's embrace. Get lost. An extremely indifferent voice rang out. When they looked again, they saw the green-clothed old man flying backward. His body staggered for dozens of meters before he managed to stop himself. The other four were so shocked that they surrounded Yi Chen. The green-clothed old man looked at Yi Chen after forcefully stopping his churning blood and energy. He looked fearful. Brat, who exactly are you? Before this, he thought that only Shi Qianhan was a powerhouse. As for Yi Chen, he did not reveal any aura at all. To them, he was just an ordinary person. Never did they expect Yi Chen to send him flying with a single slap. Yi Chen ignored him. Instead, he looked at the young man in white next to him. Are you going to kill these noisy old dogs? Or should I? Shi Qianhan, how dare you? The expressions of the green-clothed old man and the rest changed. The white-clothed young man bent his knees and heavily knelt on the ground. He faced the southeast direction and respectfully kowtowed a few times. Master, please forgive me for being unfilial. I have implicated you and even implicated the sword crafting pavilion. At the next moment, he flew up and looked down at the 5 old men below. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and his face regained its indifferent expression. Shi Qianhan, how dare you? Don't forget that your junior sister is in our hands. The green-clothed old man could not help but take a few steps back, and all the hair on his body stood on end. After killing all of you, I'll kill my way into Shang Santian and save my junior sister. The young man in white slowly stretched out his hands, and a sword gleam condensed in his palm. He looked at the long sword in his hand that seemed to be condensed from ice and snow. Chapter 5:25. You gave this sword to me back then. I know that you don't like killing people and don't like blood, so I hid my sword for decades for you. However, now that I have a blood feud with my sect, I can no longer hide this sword. Looking at the ice soul sword in his hand, the white-haired youth was filled with tenderness. His gentle gaze seemed to be looking at his first love that he had not seen for a long time. I originally wanted to come and find you earlier, but now that my sect has been destroyed and my junior sister is in prison, although I am unfilial, there are some things that I have no choice but to do. But don't worry, I will come and find you. At the latest, in a month at the earliest, it might be tomorrow. In the next moment, the ice soul sword in the white-haired youth's hand emitted a dazzling cold light, and then split into 8 sword beams. The 8 sword beams were as transparent as 8 thin cicada wings, but they each carried their own auras, swallowing and spitting out endless cold light. In an instant, the entire sky was covered by the endless rustling of sword shadows. This is the sword forging pavilion's 1 sword into 5. The green-clothed elder's face was filled with shock. You actually comprehended it to the point of splitting 1 sword into 8. Run. He can no longer care about anything else. After saying that, he wanted to rush into the distance, but his heart was filled with extreme shock. 1 sword into 5. The previous generations of sword forging pavilion masters were unable to completely cultivate it even after exhausting their entire lives. However, not only had this traitor, Shi Qianhan, cultivated all of them, he had even comprehended the last 3 swords on his own. It was truly terrifying. Even if such a person was placed in the sword sect, he would be a genius that could suppress a peak. The other 4 elders were not much better. It was as if they had seen a ghost. Shi Qianhan attacked. He raised his arms and pointed at the green-clothed elder and the other 4 who had already leaped hundreds of feet away. The 8 sword beams that were circling around him pierced through the air like lightning. Feeling the chill behind him, the green-clothed elder blurted out, "You can't kill me." Before he could finish speaking, a sword beam pierced through the back of his head and shot out from his mouth. Bang! As his body fell heavily into the sea, another 4 bodies fell into the sea one after another. In the blink of an eye, the seawater where they fell was dyed red. Yi Chen squinted. Sword control technique. He actually saw a trace of the imperial sword technique in the process of the white-haired young man's execution. This was considered rare on Earth. Shio. The 8 sword lights returned one after another and finally condensed into an ice soul sword. The white-haired young man waved his hand and kept it. Pooh! A trace of scarlet blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Qian burst into tears. Uncle, are you all right? The white-haired young man looked at Yi Chun. I've been waiting for you all the way. I thought we would fight because of Qian. However, I think there's no need for that now. Why? Yi Chun frowned slightly. Before this, he was prepared to fight with them and bring Qian back. Even though they were strong, he wasn't afraid at all. Cough, cough. I have something to do. I'll leave Qian to you for now. He coughed violently again, and the blood at the corner of his mouth became thicker. I'll come back to pick Qian up in a month at most, or I might never come back. If that's the case, I'll leave Qian to you. Yi Chun hesitated for a moment. In the end, he flicked his finger, and an energy recovery pill shot at him. You force yourself to use the sword and triggered an internal injury from your early years. Take this pill, and it can help you recover. No need. The white-haired young man rejected him decisively. I, sure Qian Han, have owed too many favors in my life. Moreover, we're not related at all. When we meet again in the future, we might be friends or enemies. If we're enemies, I'll still draw my sword at you. If we're friends, let's drink to our heart's content again. With that, he turned around and flew into the distance. Qian cried, Uncle, don't go, okay? Come with me to Big Brother's house. He'll find you a doctor. You promised to bring me to see Grandpa Sunday. She could vaguely sense it. Uncle might die if I go. The white-haired young man stopped in his tracks and turned around to look at Yi Chun. Mad Southern Yi. Qian's identity isn't ordinary. Even you, the China #1, might not be able to protect her. If you can't. At this point, he had already leaped 100 meters away. If you can't protect her, go find a lunatic with the surname Sun. He's the only person in this world who can protect Qian. Friend, Yi Chun suddenly said, I have a favor to ask of you. Please help me find out about an old friend. His name is Yi Wushuang, and he's only 17 or 18 years old. He's dressed in white like you, and he carries a sword on his back. When he finished speaking, the white-haired young man was nowhere to be seen. The white-haired young man was nowhere to be seen. Yi Chun could only stare blankly at the sky as he mumbled to himself, Wushuang, Wushuang, where are you? After Wushuang's sword was shattered and he died, he was taken away by an old beggar. Before he left, he told Lin Tai that if Yi Chun wanted to look for Wushuang in the future, he would go to the sword pavilion. He did not find the sword pavilion, but he did not expect to hear the news that the sword pavilion had been destroyed. What would Wushuang's fate be then? He suddenly envied the other party's lifestyle. Dressed in white, unrestrained and unrestrained. If he was alone, perhaps he could go to Shang Santian to look for Wushuang's whereabouts. And now, although Qian had been found, however, he had even more doubts about Qian's identity. Why would the white-haired young man personally go to Korea for him? Why did the 5 old men say that the entire Shang Santian had searched for Qian for 50 years? Didn't that mean that Qian had been born 50 years ago, and 50 years later, she looked like a 4 or 5-year-old child? An netherworld token. Yi Chun took a deep breath in. If he was not wrong, the netherworld token that Qi Qingfeng's disciple was escorting had been taken away by the white-haired young man. His thoughts suddenly became clear. It seemed like these people were all here for the ghost ship. Big Brother. Qian tugged at the corner of his shirt and said pitifully, Can I still see Uncle? I think so. Yi Chun smiled and could not help but ask, Are you very familiar with him? It's my first time seeing Uncle too. The little girl shook her head as if she was trying her best to recall something. But I feel that Uncle is very familiar, as if I've seen him before, but I can't remember anything. It's fine if you can't remember. Let's go. Big Brother will take you home. Your sister is still waiting for you. Yi Chun chuckled softly. He hugged her and took one last deep look at the place where the white-haired young man disappeared. I hope he can come back alive. Chapter 526. At noon, 3 days later. It was a sunny day on the lawn of the Yi family's villa. Yi Chen leaned lazily on a rattan chair. Su Yuhan stood behind him and massaged him with her slender fingers. Meanwhile, Yi Hai and Wu Lan sat by the side. The family enjoyed this brief moment of happiness. Soon, Su Yuhan was panting and sweating profusely. A certain someone was enjoying himself while grumbling. If word gets out that I can get great director Su to massage me, I wonder how many people will go crazy for it. It's just that your massage skills aren't good enough. You need to improve. Smack! A hand slapped his shoulder in annoyance. Beauty Su immediately gave up and snorted, F***CKU. It's rare that I'm in a good mood to serve you. Are you still being picky? Don't, I was just saying. Why would I dislike my wife? Yi Chen admitted defeat on the spot. He straightened his body and pulled the beauty into his embrace. He said while smiling, Come, come, come. I'll serve you. At that moment, a little girl walked out of the house. She peeked her head out and looked at Yi Chen, Su Yuhan, and the rest outside. She then turned around and waved at the house. Two figures leaped out in a flash, bringing with them a gust of wind as they were thrown to the side of Julong Lake outside the villa. When the last little girl was about to pass Yi Chen quietly with her hands behind her back, Su Yuhan could not help but say, Ming Ming, what are you doing? Why are you sneaking around? The little fellow immediately stopped in his tracks. His jet black eyes darted around rapidly, and then he said guiltily, Mommy, I didn't do anything. I just want to go to the lake to play. That was what she said. However, she clenched her fist tighter behind her back. Why are you going to the lake to play? What if you fall in? You're not allowed to go. Su Yuhan pulled a long face and showed the dignity of a mother. The little girl's face turned bitter immediately. She could not help but look at Yi Chen. Daddy, tell Mommy. I'll be careful. I'll be back soon. The little fellow finally understood everyone's temperament. In the entire Yi family, Yi Chen and Yi Hai were the only ones who doted on her. Meanwhile, Wu Lan and Su Yuhan were relatively strict. Therefore, seeing that Su Yuhan would not give in, she could only target Yi Chen. Don't go too crazy. Yi Chen ignored the great beauty, Su's displeased expression. He waved his arm and showed off in front of the child. Long live Daddy. I love you the most. The expression on the little fellow's face suddenly turned from cloudy to sunny. Holding the things in his hands, he rushed out like a little wild horse. As he ran, he said, Sister Qian, Brother Hao, I'm coming. Before long, the three little guys arrived at the lakeside and took out the fishing rod they had prepared. Ming Ming looked around, took out a red pill, and hung it on the fishing hook. Yang Tian's son, Yang Hao, stood at the side, drooling. Sister Ming Ming, can this method really catch fish? How about you let me eat it? I'll exchange 10 fish with you. He had always coveted Qian's medicinal pills. That smell was too fragrant. Do you think I lack your 10 fish? What I lack is the enjoyment of the process of fishing. Ming Ming rolled her eyes at him and said snappily, How am I going to fish if I let you eat it? Besides, my daddy gave it to me. If you want to eat it, you can ask your daddy to refine some for you. My daddy doesn't know how. Little Yang Hao said with a straight face. I don't care. Ming Ming snorted coldly and said proudly, If your daddy doesn't know how, it means that your daddy is useless. Little Yang Hao was speechless. At that moment, he suddenly envied Ming Ming for having a father who knew how to refine pills. As for his father, he seemed to have encouraged him more than once to ask Sister Ming Ming for medicinal pills and bring them back for him to eat. Ming Ming ignored him and looked at Qian instead. She took out another medicinal pill. Sister Qian, do you want to eat it? I'll give you one. That's not a good idea, right? Give it to Brother Yang Hao. He likes it. Qian's eyes were also burning, but she still refused. Little Yang Hao's eyes lit up with hope when he heard that. He's a good-for-nothing and a crybaby at that. It's a waste for him to eat it, and he's asked me for it more than once. Ming Ming pursed her lips and forcefully handed the medicinal pill to Qian. Then she picked up the fishing hook with the medicinal pill and threw it into the lake. In the villa, the corner of Yi Chen's mouth twitched slightly when he sensed that through his divine consciousness. He could not help but mutter, using medicinal pills as bait to fish? Why did I give birth to such a prodigal daughter? Even in the cultivation world, he had never heard of a child who would be so extravagant as to use medicinal pills to catch an ordinary fish. As he thought about it, he suddenly rubbed his chin and smiled proudly. However, this prodigal daughter is telling the truth. It's indeed not bad to have a father who knows how to refine pills. Smack! A soft hand slapped his head in annoyance. However, the great beauty, Sue, looked at him angrily. Yi-chun, you really know how to cause trouble. You went to Korea and killed all their experts. That's right, Xiaoqin. When your father and I heard about it, we were almost scared out of our wits, Wulan accused. He was not the only one who knew about Yi Chin's actions in Korea. The entire Yi family knew about it from the internet, especially when Yi Chin fought Inshur. The family was really worried. Mom, I understand. I'll try not to do this next time. Yi Chun could only show an apology for such things. Is it over just by apologizing? Su Yuhan chuckled. You're not allowed to run around when you're back this time. At the very least, you can only go out after celebrating Ming's birthday. All right, I'll do whatever my wife says. Also, Ming is going to Jinling to participate in an art competition the day after tomorrow. I'm afraid I can't go because of some matters at the company, so you'll bring our daughter to Jinling. Yichen could not help but be stunned. Art competition? That's right. Our city held a children's palace exhibition earlier. Your daughter's work was selected, and she'll be representing Lin City to participate in the competition in Jinling. Su Yuhan nodded and looked at him in an irrefutable manner. Yi Chun, this concerns your daughter's future. As her father, you won't be unwilling to go, will you? I'm willing, of course I'm willing. Sensing her unfriendly gaze, Yi Chun nodded immediately and said while grinning, Of course I'm willing. I still have to thank my wife for nurturing a future art saint for me. Although this flattery was a little tacky, the smile on Su Yuhan's lips betrayed her inner thoughts. After spending more than 2 hours with the family, Yi Chun received a call from the Patriarch of Hell. Fellow Yi, please come to my place. I have something to discuss with you. Chapter 5:27. Lin City, Jade Tide Club. Yi Chun sat on the sofa and looked at the shadow before him in surprise. He said while smiling, Patriarch, is this your original appearance? There was a slightly transparent figure standing in front of him. This figure looked like a young man of about 24 or 25 years old. Judging from the shadow, the other party was very skinny, so skinny that he was almost skin and bones. However, there were 2 pieces of meat on his cheeks, and his eyebrows were inverted. He also had triangular eyes. Coupled with the evil smile at the corner of his lips, the feeling he gave was that this person was vulgar, very vulgar, very vulgar. How is it? The Patriarch's real body is more handsome than yours, isn't it? The young man flipped the long hair in front of his forehead in a flashy manner. Even though he had no hair, he still did that out of habit. Yi Chan was speechless. I just want to say that your honor doesn't match your name, Zhuang Qingchun. The Patriarch gave off the feeling that he was a young man from the 21st century who had a kidney deficiency because of too much masturbation. He was starting to suspect if the Patriarch was bragging when he said that he had slept with countless female cultivators in the cultivation world and had a harem of 3,000 beauties. Cut it out, just be jealous. The Patriarch of Hell smiled narcissistically and said in a deep voice, Fellow Yi, I've already reached the threshold of breaking through. What should I do now? You're about to break through to foundation building? Yi Chan was slightly shocked. That's right. The Patriarch of Hell nodded. Unfortunately, there's no geographical vein. I can only suppress it, but it's not a solution. On the path of cultivation, one had to take things step by step. One cannot be eager for quick success, but one had to break through when it was time to break through. Forcefully suppressing it would cause one to be unable to control one's own strength. In serious cases, one would go berserk and not be able to break through for the rest of their lives. The geographical vein is indeed a problem. Yichen nodded lightly and said while deep in thought, However, the geographical vein is something that can only be found by luck in the cultivation world, let alone on Earth. The place I found last time could be considered a fortuitous encounter. Could it be that I have to disperse my cultivation and recultivate? The patriarch's face fell. It was better to kill him than to disperse his cultivation and recultivate. Perhaps there's a place with an earth vein, Yi Chun suddenly said without any hesitation. However, this place is thousands of kilometers away, and it already has an owner. If you're free, you can come with me. He suddenly remembered a place, the old forests of the northeast, not to mention the great immortals inside. There's even a 1,000-year-old fox demon trapped inside. When demons cultivated to a certain level, they also needed the help of earth veins to break through. That night, Yi Chun flipped over and got up. After realizing that the person next to him had fallen asleep, he opened his mouth and blew at her delicate face. He then walked out of the villa, quietly. Old ancestor Yellow Spring was already waiting above the Nine Dragons Lake. "Let's go." Yi Chun nodded at him and disappeared on the spot with a sword gleam. He headed northeast quickly. Ever since Yi Chun caused a ruckus in the northeast last time and killed several great immortals, the old forest had fallen into a short period of peace. Meanwhile, the rumors about him gradually faded among the people. Occasionally, it would be used as a topic of conversation. In reality, most people who did not know the truth scoffed at this. After all, in their opinion, the great immortals that they had worshipped for generations were boundless. Even if Mad Southern Yi was the China #1, he was no match for the great immortals. It was night, Lu Shan in the northeast. A sword gleam flashed above the old forest like lightning. At that moment, all the living beings in the entire old forest sensed it. In an instant, the originally peaceful old forest instantly became restless. Countless birds and beasts went berserk. Who dares to barge into my old forest? An extremely gloomy and furious roar rang out. A big black bear that was over 3 meters tall leaped out of the forest. With every step it took, a huge pit would appear on the ground. Boom! A huge ball rolled over from afar like a hurricane, causing countless sand and rocks to fly. When the ball stopped, it suddenly turned into a huge hedgehog. The barbs on its back were like steel needles. Roar! A giant python broke out of the ground, bringing with it countless sand and rocks. Subsequently, it looked at the sword gleam above the old forest with an incomparably sharp gaze, its scarlet tongue sticking out nonstop. The 3 immortals of the northeast had gathered. There were originally 5 immortals. However, the Rat King and the Weasel King had been killed by Yi Chun before this. Only the Black Bear King, the Mysterious Snake King, and the Hedgehog King were left. At that moment, the killing intent on the 3 immortals was extremely cold. Outsiders were not allowed to enter the old forest. That was the rule. Yo, fellow Yi, are you bringing me to the zoo? Although these 3 guys' cultivation is a little low, they don't seem to have a good temper. The Patriarch of Hell, who was in the air, looked down at the 3 immortals below with a smile on his face. The 3 immortals might shock the world, but in the eyes of the Patriarch of Hell, who was a tribulation stage almighty in his previous life, they were nothing. At most, they were considered little demons. They were existences that he could kill with a single finger in his previous life. Who exactly are you? Why did you trespass into my old forest in the middle of the night? The Black Bear King's gaze was uncertain. Even though they were far away, he could still feel the pressure coming from above. I'm the Patriarch of Hell. As an incomparably domineering voice fell, a black shadow descended from the sky. In an instant, it turned into a black puppy. However, it stood on its tiptoes and placed its front paws on its waist, looking very pleased with itself. A dog? When they saw the Patriarch of Hell's appearance, the Black Bear King, the Mysterious Snake King, and the Hedgehog King looked at each other and blurted out unconsciously. The 3 immortals had thought that some powerful existence had barged into the old forest, so they were mentally prepared to fight. They did not expect it to be a dog. CK your dog. Your whole family are dogs. The Patriarch of Hell's fur stood on end when he heard that. He hated it the most when people called him a dog, because it would remind him of a name that he did not want to face for the rest of his life. Cutie, the Mysterious Snake King of the 3 immortals, pinched her extremely soft throat and said, May I know where Brother Dog is and why you've come to my old forest? They thought that the Patriarch of Hell was also a great immortal. It's hard to say what I want, but I'll definitely teach you guys a lesson. I don't have a good temper either. The Patriarch of Hell smiled arrogantly and charged at the three immortals. How dare you? Do you really think we're afraid of you? The Hedgehog King, who had been silent all this while, was furious. In an instant, the three immortals charged at the Patriarch of Hell. 2 minutes later, the three gigantic figures smashed heavily onto the ground, causing it to shake violently. The Patriarch of Hell placed his hands behind his back and imitated Yi Chen's tone as he said, "The three of you are too weak. I don't feel any sense of accomplishment. Why don't I use one hand and teach you guys a lesson?" The three immortals' faces were filled with humiliation as they glared at him. They had roamed the Northeast for hundreds of years. Apart from being almost killed by Yi Chen last time, they had never been humiliated like this. "All right, Patriarch," a voice that did not know whether to laugh or cry was heard. Subsequently, Yi Chen put away his sword gleam and landed on the ground. He said to the three immortals who were shocked, "Bring me to your sister." Chapter 528. As for old ancestor Yellow Spring's action of teaching the three immortals a lesson, Yi Chen was happy to see that happen. If he wasn't here in the future, the Patriarch would need to come into contact with Old Lin. Rather than Old Lin being disobedient at that time, he might as well let the Patriarch give them a show of strength now. Under the Black Bear King's lead, Yi Chen and the Patriarch of Hell walked into the forest. The old forest was no different from usual. Even the bamboo forest outside was the same. This time, Yi Chen did not have to do anything. The Patriarch broke the formation with a raise of his hand. It was effortless. When the three immortals saw that, they looked at the Patriarch with even more fear. The purple bamboo forest formation was created by Big Sister. Forget about outsiders. Even they had to get Big Sister's permission to enter. If they forcefully barged in, they would only trigger the formation and be trapped inside. A few country bumpkins? What kind of expression is that in your eyes? I've only revealed the tip of the iceberg, and you're already scared. The old ancestor's face was full of disdain. In the outside world, Yi Chen's cultivation speed was faster than his, and his ability was more terrifying than his. He had been tortured by Yi Chen for so long that he even wondered if he was a tribulation stage old monster from his past life, or if Yi Chen was a tribulation stage old monster. Thus, in front of the three immortals, he felt that he had found the confidence that he had lost. Country bumpkin, the Black Bear King, and the others were extremely furious, but they were helpless as they weren't the ancestors' match, so they could only keep silent resentfully. As a matter of fact, they were all native demon cultivators of Earth. Perhaps they could be called kings, but in the eyes of the Patriarch, they were indeed no different from country bumpkins. They were speechless along the way. The three immortals stopped after walking out of the purple bamboo forest. The Black Bear King said to Yi Chen respectfully, "Master, Big Sis is inside. We won't be going in." With that, they turned around and left. "Look at these three fellows. Their big sister must be no better." Patriarch Yellow Spring spat and chuckled. "You're no better than them." Yi Chen ignored him and walked straight to the peach blossom forest far away, even though it was night. However, the peach blossom forest was still as bright as day. When he looked up, he saw a full moon hanging low in the sky, as if it was standing on the peak of a distant mountain. In the peach blossom forest, the sound of a zither could be heard. The tune of the zither was deep and mellow. "Mother Cur, what's that sound?" Patriarch Yellow Spring pricked up his ears and listened. Then he hummed along. "I'm a fox that has cultivated for 1,000 years. 1,000 years of cultivation, 1,000 years of loneliness." Yi Chen looked at it in surprise. He was surprised that the elder ancestor had heard of the white fox. "Mother Cur, it's nice to listen to, but it brings up the old ancestors' sad memories." "What a lousy song. I don't want to listen to it." Patriarch Yellow Spring wiped his tears, turned into a black shadow, and shot into the peach blossom forest. "I'd like to see who dares to play tricks on me." In the next moment, a tremor came from the peach blossom forest. "Who is it? Oh, I didn't expect to see a beautiful young lady here. Young lady, come smile for me. Letcher, boom! As he screamed, the patriarch flew out on the spot. Yichen extended his hand and caught him. Mother of asterisk cur, this girl is too hot-tempered, but he's quite strong. The patriarch grimaced. Yichen was speechless. Even at this time, the patriarch still could not change his lecherous nature. There was a fox demon whose strength was equivalent to a foundation-building cultivator inside. If you dared to molest her, you would be courting death. Meanwhile, the luxuriant peach blossom forest moved, and a path appeared. A stone pavilion came into view, and a woman was sitting in the stone pavilion. The woman was about 18 years old. She was dressed in ancient clothes and was plain white. However, she was holding a zither with both hands at the moment. She looked at Yi Chun and the rest coldly with a pair of intelligent eyes. To be precise, she was looking at the patriarch Yellow Spring. She was Umiling who met Yi Chun last time, the big sister who suppressed the old forest. Fellow who, how have you been? Yi Chun chuckled softly. He leaped hundreds of meters away and landed in the stone pavilion. The patriarch Yellow Spring followed closely behind. However, he could not help but size Umiling up with his perverted eyes. So it's Mr. Yi. Umiling's cold face softened a little. She bowed and said in a deep voice, Mr. Yi, did you come late at night to bring this lecher to tease me? After saying that, she cast her cold gaze at the patriarch Yellow Spring again. Fellow who, you've misunderstood. Yi Chun shook his head lightly and said, This is a friend of mine. He's always been arrogant, so he offended you. I apologize on his behalf. Lil miss. Oh no, fellow, what fellow Yi said is true. I didn't mean it earlier. The patriarch Yellow Spring cupped his fist with a smile. Umiling's expression eased up. She pinched her fingers lightly, and two stone stools flew over from afar and landed next to Yi Chun and the patriarch Yellow Spring. Two bamboo cups landed on the stone table. Since it's a misunderstanding, please take a seat. There are no fireworks in the wilderness. There's only some clear spring water for you too. After Yi Chun sat down, the patriarch Yellow Spring finally noticed the shackles on Umiling's feet and the chains that ran through the entire stone pavilion. He could not help but ask in surprise, Fellow who bound the shackles on your body? May I know why Mr. Yi is visiting so late at night? Umiling did not answer the patriarch. Instead, she turned to look at Yi Chun. After Yi Chun explained why he was looking for the geographical vein, she said without answering his question, May I know why Mr. Yi is looking for this place? This friend of mine needs this place to cultivate. Yi Chun did not hide it. After all, if there really was one in the old forest, the patriarch would stay. Subsequently, he said, Don't worry, fellow who. This can be considered my second promise to you. At the same time, the patriarch Yellow Spring's heart was in his throat. Umiling was silent for a few seconds before she suddenly shook her head and said, Mr. Yi, to be honest, there's one in the old forest that you need. However, this place is too secretive. I'm afraid I can't agree to it. Really? The patriarch Yellow Spring could not help but be overjoyed. Initially, he did not have much hope for this trip, but he did not expect that there would really be one. Yi Chun took a good look at her and said slowly, I wonder what fellow whose request is. Please tell me. He was also shocked. The reason why I don't agree is because this place is a dangerous place. Umiling shook her head slightly, and her voice was like a trickle of water. This place is a lightning pool. It's a place that the ancestors of the old forest have specially used to cross the heavenly barrier. Naturally, lightning tribulation will descend at the heavenly barrier. Therefore, after thousands of years, more and more lightning has dissipated, and it has gradually accumulated into a lightning pool. Ordinary people will die on the spot if they get within 30 meters of it. Even I can only get within 50 meters. At this point, a trace of fear appeared on her face. If the lightning pool erupts, it will be a calamity for the old forest. Therefore, for the sake of your safety, I can't agree. Lightning pool? The patriarch Yellow Spring was not shocked. Instead, he was delighted. Fellow Yi, according to what she said, this place is a heavenly energy earth vein. If I break through inside and go through the baptism of the lightning pool, I might be able to forge my soul and cultivate a lightning Dharma body. Yichun lifted his head to look at Miling. Fellow Hu, don't worry about our safety. Since we dared to come, we must be fully prepared. Of course, I can promise that I'll suppress the lightning pool and not let it explode. He paused for a moment and continued. I can also resolve the 500-year-old criticism for the Northeast Kimaxian, so that you can pass through Shanhaiguan unimpeded from now on. Chapter 529. Everyone knew. The Chuma Immortal and the house protecting Immortal were unique to the Northeast. The explanation given by outsiders was that there were many mountains and dense forests in the Northeast, and it was easy for demons to appear. This was only a one-sided statement. After all, there was no lack of mountains and forests in the vast South. The real reason was that when immortals became immortals, they would ask for a title from the emperors of the mortal world. It was equivalent to seeking a title to show that one's achievements in the mortal world were complete. During the reign of the Qianlong Emperor, there were 5 great immortals who had been cultivating for 1,000 years who asked for a title from the Qianlong Emperor. In order to prevent demons from causing chaos in the world and shaking the foundation of the country, Qianlong Emperor proposed a condition. Qianlong bestowed the title of immortals for 500 years, and the immortals did not pass through Shanhai Pass. The Qianlong Emperor chased all the immortals out of the pass and away from the central plains, limiting the range of activity of these great immortals. Therefore, even if they caused a ruckus, they could not cause much trouble. This was also the origin of the saying that the Buddhas of the South, the immortals of the North, and the yellow beast could not enter Shanhai Pass. Some people might wonder how an ordinary emperor like Qianlong could restrict these different races. Unbeknownst to them, this was similar to how people would look for an eminent monk or an expert to recite sutras after they died. For a true expert cultivator, they only needed to burn a spiritual archive to open up all the paths in the netherworld for the deceased, allowing them to pass unimpeded and suffer less pain. Were these experts gods? Were they immortals? No. In the end, they were still humans, and it was still difficult for them to escape the cycle of reincarnation. They were still like this, not to mention that he was the ruler of the world, the emperor of the world. Of course, rumors could not be trusted. However, it was indeed a custom for immortals to stay in Shanhai Pass. Therefore, Miling could not help but be tempted when she heard that Yichun had a way to remove the restriction of immortals from crossing Shanhaiguan within 500 years. Mr. Yi, do you really have a way? The Northeast was not big, but it was not small either. With the gradual increase in population and the progress of society, the environment that could provide for them was getting smaller and smaller. Furthermore, the reason why the immortals appeared was to accumulate merit in the mortal world. However, there were only so many people in the Northeast. After a long time, the power of faith from incense had also reached its peak. If they wanted to continue to increase the amount of merit, they needed more people. There was only one way, and that was for the immortals to pass through the Shanhai Pass and enter the South. Therefore, how could she not be tempted after hearing what Yichun said? Before I answer, I want to ask a question. Yichun chuckled softly and said, Fellow Hu, may I ask where did the saying, Hu Huang can't enter Shanhai Pass come from? Could it really be as the rumors say, that it was decided by the Qianlong Emperor? I'm not sure either. Miling shook her head blankly. Then she said, I only know that this comment came from more than 400 years ago. At that time, I was not considered an important member of the clan. Moreover, I had been cultivating in seclusion for a long time. One day, when I came out of seclusion, I realized that all the elders in the clan had disappeared. Missing? Patriarch Yellow Spring was puzzled. That's right, he has indeed gone missing. Miling nodded slightly and said, Apart from me, all the seniors who have cultivated for more than 1,000 years have disappeared. The clan is in a state of panic. At this point, she paused for a moment, and her face turned slightly pale. At that time, I could vaguely sense that the Tao of heaven and earth had changed. This change did not only target us immortals, but even human cultivators. From then on, we immortals could not pass through Shanhai Pass. If we forced our way through, we would lose all our powers, and we would die for no reason. Meanwhile, all the powerhouses among the human cultivators had disappeared. Many inheritances were almost destroyed. It was not until the fall of the Qing dynasty that we recovered a trace of vitality. After hearing what she said, even with the patriarch Yellow Spring's unruly personality, he could not help but be surprised. The Tao of heaven and earth has changed. His expression suddenly changed. He could not help but send a voice transmission to Yi Chun through divine consciousness. Fellow Yi, I've discovered a very serious problem. Damn it, there seems to be no heavenly Tao in this world. Damn it, there's no heavenly Tao. Boom! Yi Chun was shocked when he heard that. Waves surged in his heart. No wonder he could pass through the world barrier and return to Earth. No wonder Wu Shuang, the patriarch Yellow Spring, and the night demon had descended into this world one after another. It was because there was no heavenly Tao at all. Without the heavenly Tao, how could they stop it? No wonder he, who was the heavenly emperor life providence, did not sense any abnormalities in this world. The absence of abnormalities was the biggest abnormality. However, how could a world not have heavenly Tao? He suppressed the shock in his heart and raised his head to look at Hu Miling. Fellow Hu, are you saying that more than 400 years ago, the great immortal's lineage still followed the heavenly Tao and followed the rules? Was it because of the change in the Tao of heaven and earth that caused the sudden change? Yes. Hu Miling nodded slightly and opened her pearly white teeth. Before that incident happened more than 400 years ago, the spiritual energy in the world was not as scarce as it is now. Whether it was the beasts or the humans, many experts had emerged. Yi Chun could not help but look at the patriarch Yellow Spring next to him when he heard that. A thought flashed through his mind quickly. In other words, more than 400 years ago, the heavenly Tao still existed. However, after the change that Hu Miling mentioned, the heavenly Tao was gone. To be precise, the heavenly Tao was dead. Oh my God, fellow Yi, what exactly happened 400 years ago? How could the heavenly Tao be dead? The patriarch Yellow Spring had goosebumps all over his body. Heavenly Tao, it could be said to be the most powerful existence in a world. He was the master of all living beings in this world. As long as the world was not destroyed, he would not be destroyed. However, he was dead now. Since he could kill the heavenly Tao, did that not mean that he could kill the patriarch Yellow Spring and Yi Chun too? That was the reason why the patriarch Yellow Spring was nervous. Don't think too much. Perhaps it's just our speculation. Yi Chun shook his head calmly. Subsequently, he looked at Hu Miling. Fellow Hu, let's get back to business. My friend urgently needs the lightning pool for his cultivation. I promise that after I investigate what happened 400 years ago, I'll definitely lift the 500-year ban on the great immortal's lineage. All right, Hu Miling was worried about the immortals. In the end, she could not resist Yi Chun's promise. She pursed her red lips and said, However, Mr. Yi, you have to promise not to let the lightning pool explode. Of course. Yi Chun nodded lightly. Hu Miling did not hesitate anymore. She immediately summoned the Black Bear King among the three immortals and got him to lead Yi Chun and the rest to the lightning pool. The Black Bear King was shocked when he heard that the two of them were going to the lightning pool. However, he did not dare to say anything after meeting the patriarch's unfriendly gaze. Along the way, the patriarch Yellow Spring looked around sneakily. He could not help but send a voice transmission to Yi Chun. Fellow Yi, I feel that Hu Miling didn't tell us the truth. Chapter 530. Although the patriarch of hell looked unrestrained and unruly, one could even say that he did not look like a tribulation almighty at all. However, that did not mean that he was stupid. It could be said that no one in the cultivation world was simple. The patriarch was able to cultivate to a tribulation almighty in the cultivation world in his previous life. As a giant in the cultivation world, he was not as ordinary as he looked. Although he had not known Hu Miling for long, the smart patriarch noticed many things that did not make sense. She's cultivated for 2,000 years. As the saying goes, people become demons when they grow old. Do you think she'll still be like a 3-year-old child? Yi Chun smiled, not agreeing or disagreeing. That's true. The patriarch of hell snickered as his eyes flickered nonstop But then again, it said that the fox demon clan specializes in beauties. That's true at all. Even in the cultivation world, that little lady's beauty is top-notch. Yichun suddenly stopped walking and looked at him expressionlessly. Let me remind you first, don't get yourself into trouble. Moreover, you're breaking through in her territory. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After about an hour, the group of them had traversed the northwest corner of the old forest. Finally, they followed the stone walls and entered mine. The Black Bear King stopped in his tracks and spoke with fear in his voice. Master, we've arrived at the lightning pool. Yichun looked up and saw that they were in a mine that was neither too big nor too small. There were jagged stalactites all around them. 100 feet away, there was a hole that was about 10 feet in diameter. From afar, it looked like the mouth of a well. There was a hole hanging on the stone wall above the well. The hole was connected to the outside world. Moonlight seeped in through the hole and shone on the well. Streaks of silver lightning that were as thick as earthworms swam around the mouth of the well. From time to time, sparks would fly when they collided. Even though Yichun was 100 feet away, he could still hear the sound of surging electricity coming from the mouth of the well. Is this the so-called lightning pool? The Patriarch of Hell was a little disappointed after looking around for a while. He thought the lightning pool that whom Myling mentioned would be huge. Never did he expect to see it now. That's right. The Black Bear King nodded and said fearfully, don't underestimate it. Most of the lightning is at the bottom of the well. After thousands of years of accumulation, it's very terrifying. Even I have to stay 10 feet away from it. Because he's a loser. The old ancestor Netherspring sneered and took a step forward. It was this step that seemed to have triggered something, causing bolts of lightning to shoot out from the mouth of the ancient well, and they instantly struck the old ancestor. Motherf Asterisker, he's a little fierce. Patriarch Yellow Spring hurriedly retreated with lingering fear. The Black Bear King sneered in response. Get out, Yichun said to it. He only took a step forward after it left. His situation was the same as the Patriarch's. Countless lightning bolts gathered on him, but he was not afraid at all. He walked to the mouth of the ancient well step by step. This scene caused Patriarch Yellow Spring to be astounded. Damn it, does this kid's body have to be so monstrous? Even lightning can't hurt him at all? Yichun ignored his gaze. His divine consciousness shrouded the mouth of the well. He said with a smile a moment later, this is a good place. There's actually a trace of lightning essence condensed below. It's perfect for training one's soul. At this point, he raised his head and looked at the old ancestor Yellow Spring beside him. Patriarch, come here. This place can help you break through to foundation building. No way. Do you think I'm this monstrous? The old ancestor Yellow Spring shook his head like a rattle drum. He refused to agree no matter what. He had been killed by the heavenly tribulation during his ascension, so he was traumatized by lightning. All right, stop pretending. Yichun frowned. I was a tribulation-stage old monster in my previous life, after all. I don't believe that I can't even deal with this tiny lightning pool. This concerns whether I can break through or not. If you're unwilling, I won't force you. Damn it, I'm going all out. The old ancestor Yellow Spring gritted his teeth and spat out a green ball of energy. The ball of energy wrapped around him and floated toward Yichun quickly. Along the way, countless lightning bolts eroded the ball of energy around him. Go down. Before he could react, Yichun slapped him into the well. A scream that was on the verge of tears came from inside. Yi, I'm not done with you. Stop being so noisy. This is your fortune. Whether you can succeed or not depends on yourself. I won't stay here to guard you. However, before I leave, I'll set up a formation for you so that no one can disturb you. Yichun shook his head lightly. The Patriarch of Hell sighed faintly, but he did not curse out loud. Thank you, fellow Yi. I'll be in closed-door cultivation for as long as 3 years or as short as half a year. I'll definitely reward you handsomely after I come out. During the days when I'm not around, I'll have to trouble you to take care of the Zhao family's mother and daughter. Fellow Yi, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about breaking through. Yichun chuckled softly and turned around to leave. After walking out of the mine, he raised his hand and took out the formation flag that he had prepared earlier. He sealed the entire mine completely. Now, no one could disturb the patriarch. He returned to the peach blossom forest and said to Humiling, "Fellow Hu, my friend will be in closed-door cultivation for 3 years, or at least half a year. During this period, I hope that you can restrain your people and not disturb him." "I understand. Please don't forget your promise to me, Mr. Yi." Humiling bowed solemnly. Yichen nodded lightly. "Of course." Shanghai Pass. It was the first pass in the east of the Great Wall. It had the reputation of the barrier of the capital, the throat of the left side of Liaoning, and the #1 pass in the world. It was night. Dawn was breaking. A skinny figure landed on the city tower of the pass when the sky was white. Yichen was dressed in green robes and stood with his hands behind his back. He quietly observed the building that was known as the Impregnable Pass. There was no surprise in his eyes at all. There was only deep shock. Formation. This pass is actually made of a formation, and it's the 9 Tunes Dragon Formation. He spread his divine consciousness and covered a radius of 5 kilometers. He could clearly grasp the direction of the mountain range. It could be said that Shanghai Pass was like a dragon circling above the ground in his eyes. Most importantly, the formation was activated when no one was guarding it. Someone had forcefully changed the direction of the mountain range, causing the dragon vein to pass through Shanghai Pass. Then, they set up this formation to extract the earth energy of the dragon vein to provide endless energy for the formation. Who on earth is capable of such a grand scheme? Yichun frowned slightly. Subsequently, he leaped into the sky directly. He looked down at the entire Shanghai Pass from above. 2 huge golden fireballs bloomed in his eyes. Golden pupil fiery eyes activate. A huge golden pillar of light shot out from his eyes and quickly attacked the city tower of Shanghai Pass. Boom! The entire Shanghai Pass shook violently. Subsequently, a green halo bloomed and blocked Yichen's golden light. The next moment, 2 inverted couplets appeared on both sides of the city gate of Shanghai Pass. The couplets shone with golden light, and the words on them were twisted like wriggling tadpoles. On the left was Lin Bingdo Zhe Jie Zhen Lai Zai Zai front. On the right were Hum, Ma, and I, Pad, Me, Hum, Zhen, Qian Kuan. Chapter 531. Lin Bingdo Zhe Jie Zhen Lai Qian Kuan. OM, Ma, and I, Pad, Me, Hum, Zhen Qian Kuan. The 18 gilded words seemed to be alive as they shone from the city wall and appeared on the city wall. They were like the dead that had just woken up from a deep sleep, exuding an ancient and heavy aura. Are these the Taoist 9 symbolic words and the Buddhist 6 symbolic mantra? Yichen's expression turned grim. The scene that came out of nowhere was completely out of his expectations. The full name of the 9 symbolic words was the 9 symbolic words hand seal. It was a secret technique that was popular among the Taoists and militarists in China. It was also known as the mysterious 9 symbolic words. The 9 symbolic words originated from Gu Hong of the Eastern Jin Dynasty's Bio-Puzi inner chapters. Lin, Bing, and Do all advance in formation. All the 9 symbolic words should be secretly congratulated. There's nothing it can't do. It meant that one could get rid of all evil by reciting the 9 symbolic words often. When the later generations copied the 9 symbolic words, they mistakenly copied advance in formation as array in front or formation in front, and it was used until now. It could be said that each of the 9 symbolic words contained great power. It could be understood as a container where an expert would cast a spell to integrate power into it. As for Hum, Ma, Na, Pad, Me, Hum, it was a mantra in Tibetan Buddhism. It was known as the 6-syllable mantra and was the most revered in Tibetan Buddhism. Believers all felt that it had an extraordinarily rich connotation, endless mysteries, and supreme supremacy. It contained great power, great wisdom, and great mercy in the universe. For example, in the journey to the west, Sun Wukong wreaked havoc in heaven and was suppressed by Buddha under the 5-finger mountain. The 5-finger mountain could not trap him initially, but Buddha ordered his disciple to stick a Buddhist prayer on the 5-finger mountain. Therefore, Sun Wukong was suppressed for 500 years. On the Buddhist prayer was the sixth symbolic mantra, Om Ma, and I, Pad Me Hum. I get it now, I get it now. Yi Chen's eyes could not stop flickering. The 18 symbolic words in front of me are used to strengthen the 9 musical dragon formation. It's also because these 18 symbolic words have the ability to see through the world and distinguish evil that humans can pass, but immortals in the Northeast can't. The 9 tunes heavenly dragon formation was not a killing formation. It could only be regarded as a defensive formation. This formation alone could not distinguish everything, and the appearance of these 18 words just happened to make up for its shortcomings, because these 18 words were equivalent to the eyes of the formation. He also had eyes. That was why there was such a difference in treatment. How generous! How generous! No matter how calm he was, Yi Chen could not help but be shocked at that moment. Extracting the dragon veins from all directions and using the impregnable pass as a formation. He even got the Taoist and Buddhist almighties to work together to carve the incantations. Is that all to stop the northeastern immortals from passing? Who on earth has such great ability? Thinking to there, he completely retracted the aura on his body, and then once again landed outside the walls of Shanghai Pass. The unforeseen event from before once again disappeared, as if it had never happened. Shanghai Pass was built during the reign of Emperor Hongwu of the Ming Dynasty, which was also when Zhu Yuanzhang appointed the Prince of Zhongshan to build it. It had a history of more than 700 years. After more than 700 years of being exposed to the sun and wind, much of the skin on the walls had peeled off. One could even see the difference between the inside and the outside. It must have been repaired by the country more than once. Even so, there were still many twisted handwriting on it. Most of them were written by tourists, and the content was very boring. For example, so-and-so visited this place. There were even advertisements such as offering a lot of money to get a child. However, there was a place that caught Yi Chen's attention. It was a place close to the city tower. It was about 6 feet from the ground, and the 2-meter-wide wall was uneven and uneven. Such a scene was nothing in the eyes of ordinary people. However, when Yi Chen saw it, a line of vigorous and powerful handwriting appeared. The great Tao is 50, the heavenly evolution is 49, and man is 1. I've been cultivating for 60 years, and I believe that no one in the world can defeat me when it comes to Tao techniques. However, I realize that this 50 is fake. It's fake. Ha ha ha. My Mai sect has been passed down for 500 years. The things that generations of ancestors believe in are all fake when they reach me. 50 is fake, 49 is also fake. Man escaping from 1 is fake. The heavenly Tao is fake. Everything is fake. How can the heavenly Tao be fake? How can the heavenly Tao be fake? I don't believe it, and I don't dare to believe it, so I decided to call a few old friends I haven't seen for many years to verify it. Even if we might die on this trip, so what? Is there anything more terrifying than the collapse of the heavenly Tao? Xiao Bai's final work. It was only a few hundred words, and although the strokes were bold and forceful, the words revealed anger, bewilderment, despair, and unwillingness. Yi Chen frowned slightly when he saw that the person who left the message was Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai? Xiao Bai, the master of spells in Hong Kong? Or is it just a coincidence? Someone with the same name and knows Tao techniques. It seems like they're the same person. Yi Chen's expression kept changing. Although he had never seen Xiao Bai before, he had heard of him more than once. He was the current successor of the Mai sect, a leading figure in Hong Kong's spell world. Shen Tianan, Fang Tianhua, and other famous masters were only juniors before him. Back in the Tang family's ancestral grave, Yi Chen realized that he was faking his death. As for the so-called 50 great Taos, 49 heavenly evolutions, and 1 man escapes, it came from the Book of Changes. The general meaning was that there were a total of 50 laws of operation and development in the world, and only 49 could be deduced. One of the escaped ones was the heavenly secret, and the heavenly secret was unpredictable. It also meant that everything could not be too perfect. There would always be a flaw in everything. Looking at Xiao Bai's handwriting, it seems like he discovered something too. Yichen was surprised. Subsequently, he shook his head and looked at the entire Shanhagen again. However, to his disappointment, he did not discover anything else. In the end, he leaped onto the city wall and stood with his hand behind his back. I originally wanted to find a geographical meridian for the Patriarch to break through to foundation building, but I didn't expect to hear that the heavenly Tao is dead. I came to Shanhagen to find out why the Northeast Immortals couldn't pass, but I didn't expect to find a shocking formation here. I even saw Xiao Bai's final work on the wall. His expression was slightly solemn as he raised his head to look at the sky and even the entire night sky. There's a formation in Shanhagen. Then, as one of the 3 major passes in China, does the Northgar platform also hide a formation? And Hanga Pass, Kunlun, these places are the most mythical in the history of China. Are they like the Shanhagen in front of us? Looks like I have to visit these places when I have time. Seeing that the sky was gradually brightening, Yichen took a good look at the Shanhagen under his feet. Subsequently, he flew toward Tiannan on a sword gleam. However, his heart was rather heavy. All of these things show that the Earth's ice isn't as simple as I thought. Perhaps something huge happened a few hundred years ago, which caused the lack of spiritual energy, the world to enter the end of days, and even the collapse of the heavenly Tao. Chapter 532. The sky was hazy when he returned home. The entire Yi residence was silent. Yichen crawled back into bed quietly. Due to the sleeping spell, Su Yuhan was still immersed in her dreams. She had no idea that her husband had traveled thousands of kilometers in the middle of the night. An indescribable peace appeared on Yi Chen's face as he glanced at Su Yuhan, who was like a lazy kitten. Yuhan, I know you've been blaming me. Blame me for not staying at home, for not caring about my daughter, for not spending time with you, and for not being like other husbands. Yi Chen stretched his arm out and touched her pretty face. He felt her even breathing at a close distance. Guilt appeared on his face. Even if you don't tell me, I know that you've suffered a lot just to be with me. Although I always say that I'm lucky to be able to be with you, isn't it the same for you? But please forgive me. Because of everything that I've been through, I'm destined to not follow the rules like ordinary people. However, everything that I've done is for you, for my daughter, for my parents, and for the entire family. Yi Chen pecked the beauty's rosy lips softly as he spoke. Subsequently, he removed the sleeping spell. He fell into a deep sleep. Yi Chen at 7:30. Time to wake up. Yi Chen was woken up by Su Yuhan after sleeping for less than 2 hours. He opened his eyes to see that the beauty had already dressed up. There's a last-minute meeting at the company this morning that I need to host. I'll leave Ming Ming to you for the competition in Jinling. Su Yuhan removed his blanket and reminded him, I'll be frank. Don't cause any trouble when you and your daughter go to Jinling this time. Otherwise, you'll be punished when you come back. Punish me according to family rules? Yi Chen stretched his arm out and pulled her into his embrace. Feeling the softness on his arm, he said with a forced smile, You're really rebelling. I'll let you know what it means to be punished. All right, stop fooling around. Su Yuhan rolled her eyes at him after breaking free. She added while blushing, It's around 9 a.m. Remember to bring Ming Ming to school to look for their art teacher. She'll tell you the exact location and time of the competition. She'll even bring you to Jinling. This is her number. Remember to be polite to her. After saying that, she handed over a business card. All right, I understand. Yi Chen yawned and teased. Honey, shouldn't you give me some benefits since you've given me such a huge task? What reward do you want? Su Yuhan was stunned. Of course it's this. Yi Chen pointed at his face. Bastard. Su Yuhan almost slapped him. However, she walked over and kissed Yi Chen's cheek anyway. She then punched him. Are you happy now, you little B****? Remember to wipe the lipstick off your face before you go out. She left the room as if she was fleeing before Yi Chen could react after saying that. She was afraid that Yi Chen would ask for more. As soon as she left, a head popped in from outside the door and gloated, Daddy, did you get scolded by Mommy? Are you happy now? How did you know I was scolded by my mother? Yi Chen's face turned grim immediately. Do you think I, your father, am so unbearable in your eyes? Meng Meng covered her mouth and giggled, because when Mommy went out, she stomped her feet and called me a bastard as she walked. Mommy definitely wasn't scolding me, because when Mommy is angry with me, she can fight but not make a noise. Get in here. Yi Chen waved his hand and grabbed the little girl from afar. He said with a straight face, "You've grown bold. You even dare to make fun of me. Have you forgotten how I dote on you? Also, I haven't settled the score with you for stealing my medicinal pills to fish." After saying that, he reached out and rubbed the little girl's face. "Daddy, I was wrong. I won't dare to make fun of you anymore. At most, I'll secretly laugh in my heart." Grandma, help." While the father and daughter were fooling around, a little girl stood at the door timidly. She looked at the father and daughter, who were laughing with envy. Yi Chen let go of Meng Meng after noticing that. He got off the bed and walked over. He squatted down and touched Qianqian's hair. He asked while smiling, "Qianqian, did you sleep well last night? Did your little sister bully you?" "Big brother, Qianqian slept very soundly last night. The bed at your house is very soft and warm." Qianqian nodded happily. "Little sister didn't bully me. She just likes to grind her teeth when she sleeps." "Nonsense, I didn't grind my teeth." Meng Meng, who was on the bed, immediately protested. "If she grind her teeth again, I'll get a needle and thread to sew her mouth up," Yi Chen said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Subsequently, he walked into the bathroom to wash up. When he came out, his mother, Wulan, had already prepared breakfast. The two little girls sat at the table obediently, not daring to move their chopsticks. "Eat. Don't wait for me." Yi Chen sat down while smiling. Meng Meng did not move her chopsticks. Instead, she looked at Yi Chen and said, "Daddy, can I ask you something?" "What is it?" "Tell me first, and I'll decide." Yi Chen immediately revealed a vigilant expression when he saw that she had suddenly become so polite. He couldn't understand his daughter better than anyone else. She was a smart girl. There were only things that one could not think of, and there was nothing that she did not dare to do. The little girl moved her mouth and said hesitantly, "I'm going to Jinling to participate in the competition with Daddy later. I can't bear to leave Sister Qianqian alone at home, so I want Daddy to bring Sister Qianqian along." Qianqian, who was at the side, could not help but reveal a hopeful gaze. It was obvious that she also wanted to stay with Meng Meng. "Daddy, just agree." Before Yi Chen could say anything, Meng Meng walked to his side and hugged his arm while acting coquettishly. "Mommy won't let me, but I really want to go to the competition with Sister Qianqian. Don't worry, I promise you that I'll definitely get first place in this competition." "First place?" Yi Chen almost burst out laughing. "All right, I agree. But you're the one who said it. You must get first place in the painting competition for Daddy. That way, Daddy won't be afraid if your mother pursues the matter." "All right, first place." The little girl immediately laughed out loud, her eyes narrowing into crescent moons. Isn't it just first place? He could get it easily. So he thought. So easy. At the end of her sentence, she muttered, "But Daddy is really something. He keeps talking about Mommy. Is it really like what they say on TV?" With Yi Chen's hearing, how could he not hear her? "What did you say?" The little girl immediately shook her head like a rattle. "Nothing. I said that Daddy is really handsome. Daddy is my Prince Charming." Chapter 533. According to Su Yuhan, this time, the little fellow Meng Meng was going to Jinling to participate in the drawing competition as one of Tiannan's children's representatives. The rest of the participants were all from a few of the more famous kindergartens in Tiannan, and the teachers who were in charge of leading the team were all the kindergarten's art teachers. After breakfast, Yi Chen brought Meng Meng and Qianqian out. As they were going far away, they did not drive. When the three of them arrived at Little Swan Kindergarten, they found more than 10 people gathered at the school gate. Some of them were parents, while others were children. In front of these people stood a woman in a white dress. She was about 25 years old and was extremely beautiful. She wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses, which added a lot of quiet aura to her. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Before Yi Chen could get close, Meng Meng ran over like she was flying. She hugged the lady in the long dress tightly and was very affectionate. "You Meng Meng, you're finally here. I thought you weren't going to participate." The woman in the long skirt bent down and touched the little fellow's head. The little girl pointed at Yi-chan when he walked closer and said as if she was showing off, "You little B****, this is my daddy. Dad, this is our art teacher's penis." The lady in the long dress lifted her eyes and looked at Yi-chan. She extended her hand enthusiastically. "Hello, Mr. Yi. I'm Yimaming's art teacher, Song Shushua. Hi. I'm Yimaming's father. My name is Yi-chan." Yi-chan shook her hand politely. After saying that, he had a very strange feeling in his heart. The woman in front of him actually had the surname Song. He wondered how his fellow men felt when they called her ******. Snow knew that his thoughts were going astray. Her face couldn't help but become slightly red. As there were many people who had the same reaction as Yi-chan, she had even asked her best friend who Yi-chan was. In the end, she got the same strange expression from her best friend. When she learned about Yi-chan's information, she almost fainted from embarrassment and anger. It turned out that when these men called her a *****, the thoughts in his heart were so filthy. At this moment, a pot-bellied man who was holding the hand of a little fatty said impatiently, "F****CK, since everyone is here, shouldn't we make a move? Can you stop wasting time?" He glared at Yi-chan coldly after saying that. His eyes were filled with disdain. He was going to another province to bring glory to Tiannan, yet he was dressed so casually. How embarrassing. That's right. I put off work at the company and came all the way here just so that my son can get first place in the competition. Can't you hurry up? Another fat, middle-aged woman with red makeup on her face said in a strange tone. "Let's go. Everyone get in the car." Song Shushua smiled sweetly and took the lead to walk to a city bus by the side of the road. She said to everyone, we have a lot of people. In order to unify the management, we can't fit in the cars. We'll have to trouble you to take the bus. Aren't your conditions too bad? If I had known earlier, I would have driven the Ferrari at home. That's right. It's so dirty. How can people sit on it? We are all people of status." The middle-aged woman from before kept muttering, but she still brought her child into the car. Song Shushua felt extremely awkward. "Let's go." Yi-chan did not mind. He held Mengming's hand in one hand and Qianqian's hand in the other as they walked onto the bus. As soon as she sat down, Mengming stood up and pointed at a little girl sitting opposite her. "Daddy, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Li Ergua." Yi-chan lifted his head and saw a little fatty around 4 or 5 years old. He was eating a bag of spicy gluten nonstop at the moment. There was a slightly haggard, middle-aged man sitting next to him. The little fatty only stopped eating after Mengming was done introducing him. He grinned at Yi-chan. "Hello, Uncle Yi." He hesitated for a moment after saying that and handed over the bag of spicy gluten in his hand. He said reluctantly, "Uncle Yi Mengming, do you guys want some? Brat, do you think everyone is like you? All you know is to eat all day." Before Yi-chan could say anything, the middle-aged man next to the little fatty scolded him jokingly. He then nodded at Yi-chan. "Hello, Brother Yi. My name is Li Yongmin." Yi-chan smiled lightly. "Daddy, the bus ride is very tiring. How can I replenish my energy if I don't eat? How am I going to perform well in the competition without stamina?" The little fatty pursed his lips. Puffed. Qianqian immediately laughed. She could always find humor in people her age. She could not help but ask, "Little brother, why are you called Li Ergua? Do not call me little brother." The little fatty was immediately unhappy. "You can call me little brother, but don't use the word little." Why? It was Mengming and Qianqian's turn to be confused. As the little fatty ate, he said in a muffled voice, "My grandfather said that a man can be small anywhere, but his brother can't be small. Otherwise, his wife will run away with someone else in the future." Qianqian and Mengming were still confused. "Brat." Li Shuamin was so angry that he slapped him on the spot. Yi-chan did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Hey, fatty, you haven't told me why you're called Li Ergua?" Mengming supported her chin with her hand and looked at him curiously. The little fatty burped and said nonchalantly, "It's very simple. It's because every time my dad gets drunk, he will hang me up and beat me. Moreover, he only drinks Erguo too." Puffed. Even Ichin could not help but laugh. He realized that this little fatty was quite interesting. He dared to say that in front of his own father. "I'll beat you to death, you brat." Li Yongmin's face instantly turned green. He slapped him again. "I hit you because you were disobedient. You're so young, yet you're not learning good things. Not only did you steal your grandfather's cigarette, you even put the small wooden stick in the cigarette box and pretended that nothing happened." The little fatty did not cry after being slapped. Instead, he muttered as if it was a matter of course, "My grandfather's eyes aren't good. If I didn't do that, wouldn't he be suspicious?" This time, everyone in the bus was amused. While the bus was moving, Song Shushiwa introduced everyone to the matters to pay attention to in the painting competition after they arrived in Jinling. The competition would be held at the Jinling Art Gallery, and the competition would be held at 2 p.m. that day. It would officially end at 3 p.m., which meant that the competition would only last for an hour. Moreover, it would be temporary painting. As for the tools, they would be prepared on the spot. At the end of her sentence, Song Shushiwe threw out another piece of shocking news. The top 3 in this competition will not only be recommended to the National Children's Palace to study, but they will also receive 100,000, 50,000, and 20,000 yuan as prizes. And it said that the first place will be accepted by the arts saint, Master Wu Wanshan, as a disciple and personally teach him the art Tao. Chapter 534. If Song Shushiwe's first sentence did not pique everyone's interest, then the last sentence completely caused an uproar in the car. A pot-bellied man's face was filled with shock. He exclaimed by instinct, "What? The winner of the competition can be taken in as the disciple of the arts saint, Master Wu? Are you serious? Are you serious?" With Master Wu's status, how could he be interested in such a small children's art competition? A square-faced man wearing gold-rimmed glasses could not hide the shock on his face. "Who is this art saint that you guys are talking about?" Some parents expressed that they had never heard of him. As soon as he finished speaking, the pot-bellied middle-aged man mocked him. "You haven't even heard of the art saint, Master Wu? I have to say, you're too lowly." The man looked embarrassed. The middle-aged man glanced at the crowd. Seeing that a few people did not know, he could not help but introduce them as if he was showing off. "You guys only know Su Beihong and Qi Baishe, but you don't know the art saint Wu Wenshan. Master Wu is a leading figure in the art world of China. He's also the descendant of Wu Daozi. He's as famous as Qi Baishe and the rest. His art Dao has reached a godly level." At this point, he paused for a moment and continued. "It said that Master Wu once drew a painting of a spring outing in the suburbs. As soon as the painting was completed, before the ink was dry, it attracted countless butterflies and bees to the painting." Everyone could not help but gasp when they heard that. It was just a painting, but it attracted butterflies and bees. Had Master Wu's art reached a level where he could pass off the fake as the real thing? That's not all. The middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses pushed his glasses and said again, "Master Wu is the #1 painter in Jinling. Even the president of the Jinling Calligraphy Association is his disciple. Rumor has it that a wealthy overseas businessman once offered Master Wu a whopping $100 million to paint for him, but he did not even get to see Master Wu." The entire car fell silent. Everyone felt extremely shocked. Clearly, they didn't think that there would be such a person in this world. Now, even the arrogant young woman with red makeup on her face and a bloated figure couldn't sit still. If her child won first place in the competition and became Wu Wanshan's disciple, what would that mean? It was almost unimaginable. In fact, she wasn't the only one who thought that way. Almost everyone in the car had their eyes flickering. Li Yongmin looked at the little fatty, who was still eating, and immediately became angry. "Brat, did you hear that? This time, you have to do your best to win first place and become Master Wu's disciple." "I don't care." The little fatty wiped his oily mouth and said nonchalantly, "So what? Could it be that his drawing of a drumstick could turn it into a real drumstick? You can't eat it. Dad, don't flatter me. I know what I'm capable of. I don't have much ambition in this life. I just want to sleep, eat, and sleep. When you die, I'll inherit your inheritance and continue to sleep, eat, and sleep. You, who do you think you are?" Li Yongmin almost died of anger. He pretended to hit her. Yichin shook his head lightly. He did not care about this art saint at all. Putting aside the fact that his art Dao had reached a godly level, even if he could turn stone into gold and paint a dragon, it would not be a big deal. When he was in the immortal world, there was an art workshop under the heavenly court. It commanded dozens of the most powerful painters in the world. With a casual wave of their hand, they could change the color of heaven and earth. Anything they drew would become anything. Compared to that, what was a mere art saint in the mortal world? The reason why he accompanied his daughter to the competition was because Su Yuhan and his daughter liked it. As long as they liked it, Yichin would satisfy them. Even if they wanted the moon in the sky and the dragon in the sea, Yichin could also capture the moon in the sky and capture the dragon in the sea. On the other hand, he admired little fatty Li Ergua's personality. This guy was a typical representative of the new era's otaku. He was broad-minded and fat, and he had no desires. Around 1 in the afternoon, the bus finally arrived at its destination, the Jinling Art Gallery. The art gallery was located at the foot of Mount Zhong. Along the way, they could see the flower and bird market and the nature park. It also allowed the people on the bus to see the beautiful scenery and cultural atmosphere of the ancient capital of Jinling. It was not something Tian'an could compare to. In the end, the bus stopped in the open-air area outside the art gallery. After they got off, they saw that there were already people of all kinds around them, bringing the old and the young. Everyone, there's less than an hour before the competition. I know everyone is hungry. Song Shushua looked at the time and said to everyone, "How about this? You guys go eat something first and walk around nearby. Gather here at 1:50 p.m. However, I'll say this first. Don't go too far, or you might not make it in time for the competition. Also, be careful." Before she could finish, most of the parents brought their children to the nearby commercial street, their faces filled with excitement. "I'm hungry." Little Fatty looked at Li Yongmin eagerly. The corner of Li Yongmin's lips twitched slightly. He could not help but hold his forehead and say, "You've been eating along the way. Aren't you full yet?" "Daddy, I'm hungry too." Meng Meng looked around and hugged Yi Chen's thigh. She looked at Yi Chen in anticipation. Although Qian, who was next to her, did not say anything, looking at how dispirited she looked, she was probably starving. Yi Chen patted the two little girls' heads and subsequently looked at Li Yongmin next to him. "Brotherly, why don't we find a place to eat together?" Along the way, he only chatted with Li Yongmin and his son. "Sure." Li Yongmin nodded with a smile and said to Song Shushua, ****, shall we? You've been talking to us along the way and haven't eaten much." "All right, thank you." Song Shushua smiled. The few of them walked to the nearby commercial street and found a high-end restaurant to sit down and order. As soon as little Fatty sat down, he called the waiter over. He waved his hand and said generously, "Uncle Yi, ****, my dad's treating today. Just order as much as you want. Don't save money for him. He's a contractor and has earned a lot of money over the years." Li Yongmin's face darkened, and he said nothing. Who would scam their own father in front of outsiders? "Am I still your father? Didn't I just hit you a few times after drinking some erguo too? Give me a bowl of duck blood vermicelli. Thank you." Song Shushua snickered and ordered one. Meng Meng ordered more than 10 dishes in one go. "Daddy, I want to eat soup dumplings, Zhouhei duck, and this and that." Li Yongmin's face darkened even more when he heard that. When it was Qian's turn, the little girl seemed to be a little reserved. She also ordered a bowl of duck blood vermicelli like Song Shushua. "It's all right. Order whatever you want to eat. I'll pay the bill today." Yichin saw through her reservations and handed the menu to her again. Li Yongmin felt a little embarrassed when he said that. He hurriedly said, "Brother Yi, let me pay the bill. This brat is right. I've indeed earned a lot of money from contracting construction sites all these years." "Uncle, how much did you earn?" Meng Meng asked curiously. Little Fatty blurted out subconsciously, "Not much, just 1 or 2 billion. But my dad is too stingy. He likes to wear cheap clothes and only smoke cigarettes that cost a few yuan a pack. Hurry up and eat." Li Yongmin coughed continuously. Just as he was speaking, the sound of a car braking came from downstairs, followed by many screams. Everyone looked up. On the street outside, A Hummer was barging through the streets in a domineering manner. In the end, it drove into a supermarket and smashed the glass door. Countless people stood outside and pointed at it. Chapter 535. Under the furious gazes of countless passers-by, a young man in a white suit and sunglasses walked out of the Hummer. He was carrying a young boy who was about 6 or 7 years old and was dressed fashionably. As he walked out, many passers-by were shocked. It's the young master of the Zhao family, Zhao Yuanliang. Someone was about to curse, but after hearing the exclamation, his body shuddered. What? He's the Zhao family's devil incarnate? The rest were not much better. Zhao Yuanliang's name was just too famous in Jinling. He was the second young master of the wealthy Zhao family in Jinling, one of the most dazzling people in the circle of wealthy families in Jinling, and the leader of the third generation of a younger generation in Jinling. He was a typical hedonistic son of a wealthy family, nicknamed the Devil Incarnate. With his family background, he could be said to be domineering in the entire Jinling, and no one dared to offend him. The young man in the suit smirked in disdain. Subsequently, he lowered his head and said to the little boy in his arms, "Yang Yang, how was it? Did you enjoy driving Uncle's car?" "Uncle, I didn't kill anyone. It wasn't satisfying." The little boy's tender features revealed a hint of arrogance. Countless people were furious when they heard that. The Hummer that rushed into the supermarket and almost hit someone was driven by a 6 or 7-year-old child. Moreover, he did not feel guilty at all after that. Instead, he said that it was not satisfying because he did not kill anyone. Meng Meng hugged Yi Chen's arm and said, "Daddy, they're too bad." Little fatty Li Ergua spat on the ground rudely. "Daddy, did you see that? This is the rich second generation that they talk about on TV. Compared to him, I'm much better." The ancient capital of the 6 dynasties. Liu Min was so angry that he laughed. His expression was extremely terrible. Yi Chen heard every single word of the passers-by. Subsequently, he shook his head. The third generation of a wealthy family. No wonder he dares to be so fearless. Young Master Zhao smirked coldly as countless passers-by pointed at him. "What are you looking at? Go back and look at your mother." After saying that, he raised his hand, wrote a check, and threw it into the supermarket behind him. "I'll pay for today's losses, young Master Zhao." After saying that, he drove the Hummer away. What kind of person is he? Is this how they teach their children? Even a girl like Tsang Shushue could not help but be furious. Also, how can a minor drive around on the road so brazenly? Is there no law? She took out her phone and was about to call the police. Li Yongmin hurriedly stopped her. "Teacher Tsang, don't be rash. We can't afford to offend this kind of person." After such a disappointing incident, everyone did not have a good appetite. After taking 2 bites, Li Yongmin rushed to pay the bill and returned to the art gallery under Tsang Shushue's lead. Over 10 minutes later, all the children who participated in the competition gathered at the gallery under their parents' lead. Even the few who were on the same bus as Yi Chen earlier were there. Everyone's faces were filled with anticipation and excitement. Their gazes towards each other were filled with vigilance. Clearly, they had also realized what the first place in today's painting competition represented. At the same time, there was a commotion at the back of the crowd. Everyone turned around and saw 5 bodyguards in uniforms surrounding a young man walking over. No one dared to stop the bodyguards. Even if someone did not make way, they would be pushed away. Why is it him again? Li Yongmin and Tsang Shushue were shocked when they saw the young man's appearance. It was because the young man was the young master of the Zhao family, Zhao Yuanliang, whom they had met outside earlier. At that moment, he was still carrying the 6 or 7-year-old boy in his arms and walking over with a piece of chocolate in his mouth. "It's young Master Zhao. I didn't expect him to come too. Is he bringing the child in his arms to participate in the competition?" F***CK. Even young Master Zhao brought someone to participate in this competition. What chance do we have? The crowd was in an uproar. To them, this so-called children's painting competition was nothing to the wealthy families. They did not expect Zhao Yuanliang, the second young master of the Zhao family, to participate as well. Could he be here for Master Wu and Shan? Someone's eyes flickered. Zhao Yuanliang was arrogant the entire time. He did not care about anyone at all. On the other hand, the little boy in his arms looked at the children fiercely and said disdainfully, "A bunch of trash. Do you think you're worthy of competing with me, Zhao Yang?" Everyone was furious, but they did not dare to say anything. At that moment, a woman in a cheongsam walked over with a microphone. As she walked, she shouted, "The examination is about to begin. Leaders of all regions, please bring your contestants in with me. Parents, stay outside." "Do I need to stay outside?" Zhao Yuanliang smiled faintly. "Yo, isn't this young Master Zhao?" The woman hurried over and said respectfully, "Of course you don't have to stay outside. Please, please, I'll bring you in personally." Zhao Yuanliang enjoyed her respect very much. He carried the child and swaggered and under the indignant gazes of all the people. Anger was anger. However, since they were already there, it was impossible for them to go back now. Hence, the scene was in a mess. Countless parents kept cheering for their children. Yi Mingming, Li Ergua, Guan Muse, Chun Xiaohai, as the leader of Tianan, Song Shushue closed the register and said, "Follow me in. As for the parents, stay outside. We'll come out after the competition. Don't worry." Ming Ming grabbed the corner of Yi Chen's shirt tightly and said timidly, "Daddy, I want you to go in with me. Don't worry. Daddy and Sister Chanqian will be watching you. Do your best. I have confidence in you." Yi Chen kissed her while smiling. "Daddy, I'll definitely get first place." The little girl waved her little fists and walked into the art gallery under Song Shushue's lead. Before leaving, Li Ergua grinned and said, "Uncle Yi, don't worry. I won't let anyone bully Ming Ming. After all, I didn't get my weight from drinking water. Get lost." Li Yongmin kicked him. The fat on the little fatty's body shook and disappeared. Li Yongmin turned around and comforted Yi Chun. "Don't worry, Brother Yi. It's just a children's painting competition. It's no big deal." Yi Chen smiled and said nothing. Instead, he released his divine consciousness and watched his daughter's every move. There was a manor on the mountain behind Jinling Art Gallery. After Zhao Yuanliang led his 7-year-old nephew, Zhao Yang, into the manor, he finally bowed to an old man in green in the hall and said with a smile, "Yuanliang greets Uncle Wu." Sitting in front of him was a green-robed old man. The old man had an indifferent expression, and his body gave off a scholarly aura. Beside him stood a few men, and every single one of them had a powerful aura. If there were outsiders present, they would be shocked to discover that these people were the seniors of the entire Jinling art world. There was the president of the Calligraphy Association, the president of the Calligraphy Association, and the president of the largest chamber of commerce in Jinling. However, these people were extremely respectful because the old man in green was the art saint, the #1 painter in Jinling, Wu Wenshan. Wu Wenshan opened his eyes and looked at Zhao Yuanliang. In the end, his gaze landed on the 7-year-old Zhao Yang. He nodded slightly and said, "Is this kid the descendant of my old friend?" "Yes, Uncle Wu." Zhao Yuanliang refused to accept his previous arrogance. After nodding politely, he said, "Uncle Wu, my second grandpa hopes that Zhao Yang can become your disciple. Don't worry." Wu Wenshan nodded slightly and said, "I've already informed the judges. If this child can get first place this time, I'll show up and accept this child as my disciple." "Thank you, Uncle Wu." After thanking him, Zhao Yuanliang left with his nephew. After he left, an old man could not help but say, "Master Wu, I heard that this young master from the Zhao family has never learned how to paint. He can't even draw an egg. If he gets first place, I'm afraid the public won't be convinced. Whoever I think is first will be first. Who dares to disagree?" Wu Wenshan smiled faintly. P.S. Chapter 3, today's update is over. Thank you for your support. Please vote. Chapter 536. Whoever this old man thinks is #1 will be #1. Who dares to disagree? Hearing Wu Wenshan's words, everyone in the manor nodded. As the best painter in Jinling City, Master Wu had the right to be proud. Everyone turned a blind eye to Zhao Yuanliang's actions. After all, the Zhao family was one of the wealthiest families in Jinling. Who dared to say no? 2:30 in the afternoon. Yi Chun and the parents who were there entered a lounge under the art gallery's arrangement. Apart from Li Yongmin, the rest of the parents were restless. They looked nervous, clearly wondering if their children could stand out in the competition. Only Yi Chun and Li Yongmin seemed relaxed. Qian peeked in from time to time and said nervously, "Big brother, can Sister Meng Meng get the certificate?" What she said naturally attracted the attention of the rest. At that moment, countless gazes were on Yi Chun. "You must believe in your little sister Meng Meng. Not only will she get it, but she'll also get the first prize certificate." Yi Chun nodded while smiling. Although he had never seen his daughter draw, but he still believed that was because she was his daughter. Although he did not know how to draw, however, he still knew that painting required a person's spatial sense, eyesight, and the ability to capture art. His daughter ate elixirs like candy, and all aspects of her had been greatly improved. It was just like the last time when the little fellow played football and exploded it with one kick. After eating so many medicinal pills, Yi Chun would start doubting his alchemy standard if she still could not beat a group of people of the same age. As soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged woman with heavy makeup on her face couldn't help but sneer and say, "For what you said, a daughter can get first place? Miss Shen Fong is right. Brother, don't be so slow with your words." Among those who were able to participate in this competition, which child isn't outstanding in school? A man wearing gold-rimmed glasses echoed and said with a face full of pride, "Take my son, Yang Yi, for example. He learned to paint at the age of 3. For this reason, I even asked a professor from the Tiananmen University's Fine Arts Department to personally guide him. That's right, I also said that my daughter can also get first place." At that moment, the entire lounge was filled with the smell of gunpowder. All of them were bragging about their children or mocking Yi Chun's confidence. Yi Chun smiled and did not mind. After all, children would compare their fathers and parents would compare their children too. It was human nature. Everyone's children are not bad. Li Yongmin smiled and took the initiative to help Yi Chun out. "I don't think my little fatty is that lucky or capable. I forced him to come here today so that he can see the world." In Li Yongmin's opinion, although the little fatty, Li Ergua, had some talent in painting, he did not look like an artist at all. Although he often beat and scolded the little fatty, he had the thought of letting nature take its course for the little fatty. Ding-ling-ling. Just as he was speaking, a bell rang from inside. "The match is about to begin." No one knew who said that, but the entire lounge immediately fell silent. All the parents could not help but look at the big screen in front of them. The scene on it happened to be the competition. It was a hall that occupied an area of about 200 square meters. The hall was filled with people at that moment. Most of them were children from all over the country. There were about 100 of them, and there were 3 judges sitting on the high platform. "That's my child, Xiaohai. All the best, Xiaomo. Mommy believes in you." Many parents could not help but cheer when they saw their children in the video. Yi Chun smiled as well. He also saw Meng Meng. At that moment, she was standing behind Song Shushue with the little fatty Li Ergua. Compared to the other children who looked serious, the 2 little guys did not seem to care at all. They were even whispering to each other. Li Yongmin could not help but scold jokingly, "This little brat, you're still in the mood to whisper at a time like this. I'll spank your butt when you come out." On the other hand, the 7-year-old boy from the Zhao family was surrounded by people like stars surrounding the moon. He held a phone in his hand and played games proudly. "Greetings, children and leading teachers." A woman in a cheongsam walked out with a microphone in her hand. "The theme of today's painting competition is science fantasy. You're the new generation of the country. Your wisdom and imagination will determine the development of the world. As the saying goes, China will be strong if the young are strong. Therefore, please create a painting on the spot around the theme of science fantasy. The time limit is 30 minutes. During this period, no whispering is allowed. The painting style is mainly based on imagination. There are no restrictions on the painting materials, and the painting tools are available here. The staff will distribute them to you later." As the applause fell, a few uniformed staff began to distribute the painting tools. All the participating children sat down under the arrangement of the leading teachers. Ring, ring, ring. The competition begins. A lady from the judging panel rang the bell. The entire venue fell silent. All the children started to think about it. It looked like a college entrance examination. Even the little fatty, Lee Ergwa, pinched his chin and meditated with a bitter expression. He secretly cursed the damn judges. They did not make the theme related to food. Instead, they had to make it a science fantasy. He wondered if Meng Meng had thought of what to draw. He could not help but turn to look at Meng Meng, who was sitting at the back. He saw that Meng Meng had already picked up a crayon and started drawing, as if she had already thought about it. Titus, the little fatty's mouth was wide open. The art teacher, Song Shushu, was secretly anxious. Meng Meng, this is a formal competition. There's only one chance. You should think carefully before drawing. Didn't I remind you? She thought that Meng Meng was afraid that there was not enough time, so she started drawing in a hurry without thinking. This scene was also seen by many people. Everyone was shocked at first, then they secretly sneered. Even the 3 judges on the judging panel were no exception. The parent waiting outside could not help but look at Yichun. However, Yichun smiled without saying anything. At the same time, in a manner behind the Jinling Gallery, a few powerhouses in the art world were also watching the competition through the big screen. When they saw that Meng Meng was the first to draw, many people shook their heads. Painting requires calmness. If you're so impetuous, you're destined to have no future in the future. As the number 1 painter in Jinling, Wu Wenshan closed his eyes to rest, as if he was indifferent to everything. After all, at his level, there were only a handful of people in the world who could compare to him in painting. Why would he be interested in a competition between children? If not for Zhao Yang from the Zhao family, he would not have come today. At that moment, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Look, what's that girl drawing?" Chapter 537. Draw an alchemy furnace. Meng Meng held a crayon in her hand and murmured as she drew, "Well, yes, it's the kind of alchemy furnace that Daddy gave me to refine pills in. When I grow up, I'll ask Daddy to give me an alchemy furnace so that I can refine pills by myself. I want to refine a lot of pills, such as weight loss pills, smart pills, and fast-running pills. I'll give them to Buttface, Brother Hao Hao, and Sister Qian Qian. When the time comes, I can even use them to fish. I won't have to steal Daddy's pills." The more the little girl spoke, the more excited she became. She didn't expect that she was being watched by countless pairs of eyes. An alchemy furnace quickly took shape under her pen. The alchemy furnace in the painting had a dragon head on each side, a groove on the waist, and a lid on the top. When the people in the manor behind the Jinling Art Gallery saw what the little girl had drawn, they couldn't help but look at each other. Someone couldn't help but ask, What is this?" The theme was science fiction. They had thought that this group of children would draw something like an airplane, a tank, a cannon, or a robot. In the end, Meng Meng had drawn such a nondescript thing. An old man approached and stared at it for a long time. Suddenly, his hand trembled and he almost tore off his beard. This seems to be a Taoist alchemy furnace." As soon as he said that, the audience burst into an uproar. "What? Alchemy furnace?" Another old man looked shocked and strange. He was shocked that a child could draw an alchemy furnace. He was also surprised that it didn't seem to fit the theme of science fiction. The commotion of the crowd attracted Wu Wenshan's attention. Wu Wenshan opened his eyes slightly and then casually glanced at Meng Meng's painting on the screen, as if he was looking at flowers on horseback. The next moment, his originally careless face finally showed a trace of change. Spirituality. This girl's painting actually has spirituality. He was a painter, not a Taoist priest, so his eyes were focused on the artistic level of the little girl's painting. An old man asked, "Master Wu, what is spirituality?" His words attracted the attention of the rest. The so-called spirituality is just an abstract concept. It's a kind of ability to express, a kind of sensibility, a kind of sensitivity toward things that can't be seen with the eyes. Wu Wenshan slowly got up and looked at the cute little girl who was painting on the screen. He said with fervor and assurance, "Ordinary people can only paint on the surface of things. No matter how well they do, a painting is still a painting. At a glance, you can tell that it's fake. When some people paint, their paintings have spirituality in them. Ordinary people will be dazed for a moment when they look at them. Just that short moment will make them feel that the painting is real, that it is real. As his voice fell, everyone nodded one after another, a thoughtful look on their faces. Someone glanced at the cute little darling in the painting and could not help but probe. Master Wu, since this girl's painting has spirituality, doesn't that mean that she's a natural talent for painting? That's right. After taking another look, I realized that this girl's painting has already stepped into the threshold of painting. With such talent and level, she can definitely surpass the other participants in the competition. Another old man stroked his beard and said with a smile. Wu Wenshan nodded slightly. Although this girl is immature, she has a trace of spiritual energy. If it was any other time, I might have taken her in on account of her talent. However, since I promised the Zhao family, I can only give up on her. At this point, he looked up at the cute little girl who was painting in the video and shook his head slightly. It's a pity. She can only blame herself for not having a background. Those without a background are destined to not be able to climb high, no matter how outstanding they are. Don't blame me. This is the law of survival in this world. Master Wu is right. Someone laughed softly and said, although this girl's talent is astonishing, she's still a genius. How can a mere genius compare to the Zhao family? The rest of the people nodded one after another. Then, they looked at the cute little girl who was painting in the video with slight sympathy and sighed to themselves. No matter how talented she was, she couldn't compare to those who were internally selected. When Yichin saw that the little girl was painting the pill furnace that he used to refine pills in, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. This girl, I thought she would draw something else. In the end, this is what she drew. When the gallery's camera shone on the works of all the participating children, all the parents apart from Yi Chun could not sit still anymore. Some were amazed by the other children's painting skills, while some muttered to themselves. They were filled with confidence in their children's works. Only Li Yongmin's face darkened, and he remained silent. It was because the little fatty, Li Ergua, had drawn a strange thing. It looked a little like a juicer, but it also looked a little like a toilet. This kid even indicated that this was his greatest invention of a new era. However, when everyone saw the cute little girl's painting, they were stunned for a moment before a series of exclamations erupted. Who's this girl? She's so good at drawing. Not bad. How can a kindergartner achieve this level? I reckon even a top student from an art major can't draw this well. Right? It's over. This girl will definitely get first place. My child won't get first place. Fortunately, there's still second and third place. Everyone was discussing. They unanimously agreed that the little girl's work was the best among all the children. Even the art teachers who led the team were no exception. Hearing the praises around him, Li Yongmin looked at the little fatty who was still drawing the toilet. His expression turned even grimmer. Brother Yi, I really envy you for having a daughter like her. She'll definitely get first place in the competition this time. Remember to treat me to a meal later. Of course, of course. Yichin nodded while smiling. There was no one who did not want their child to be praised and liked by others, including him. Half an hour passed quickly, and all the children stopped writing. The teachers who led the teams carefully packed up their works and sent them to the judges' table for grading. Song Shu Xiue led Meng Meng and the rest out. She said excitedly when she saw Yi Chun, Mr. Yi, I've seen Meng Meng's work. She'll definitely get first place this time. Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. Song. Yi Chun smiled. He could not help but kiss his daughter after picking her up. He praised, Good job, my dear daughter. Daddy, what will you reward me with if I get first place? The little girl hugged his neck and could not stop giggling. Daddy will give you whatever you want. Yi Chun patted her head. Compared to the little girl's heroic treatment, the little fatty, Li Ergua, was in a much worse state. Li Yongmin pointed at his nose and scolded him nonstop. Half an hour later, the results of the competition were finally out. First prize, winner, Zhao Yang. Second prize, winner, Qian Hao. Fifth prize, winner, Chun Xiaohai, Li Ergua, Jiang Chun, Ma Junjia, Feng Nana. 10 consolation prizes, winner, Yi Meng Meng. Some people were worried while others were happy about the result. Then, everyone was shocked that the first prize went to Zhao Yang. Although Zhao Yang's work was a futuristic car, Even an outsider would know that it was not good. The first prize is Zhao Yang, not Yi Mingming. That's impossible, right? Even if Yi Mingming couldn't get first place, she should at least get the second prize. In the end, she was given a consolation prize. What's going on? Also, Zhao Yang's painting can't be ranked first, right? There's definitely something fishy going on. Song Shushue was caught off guard. She could not help but say by instinct, perhaps there's a mistake. Mr. Yi, don't worry. I'll go ask. CMS, San, don't go. Before she left, Ming stopped her. She held back her tears and looked at Yi-chan. She choked and said, Daddy, I am sorry. I've disappointed you. The little girl did not want to cry. However, she could not help but cry. It was not easy for her father to accompany her to the competition. She just wanted to prove her hard work and brilliance to her father and get his praise. In the end, she only got a consolation prize. It's okay. I've never been disappointed in you. Yi-chan hugged her in his arms and wiped away the tears on her face. His expression gradually turned cold. It's fine if my daughter doesn't do it, but if she does, she'll be first. What's a mere consolation prize? Are you trying to get rid of a beggar? Chapter 538. Yi-chan's heart ached as he looked at the cute little girl who had a wronged expression on her face and tears flowing out of her eyes silently. He wiped the tears off his daughter's face and carried her to the competition hall. Let's go. Daddy will ask for an explanation for you today. This so-called children's art competition. In the end, a rich family's disciple won the first prize, while the little girl who drew the best only got a consolation prize. Any parent would not be able to accept that. Moreover, it was Yi-chan who loved his daughter deeply. Even though he knew that there were all sorts of shady deals in these so-called official competitions, he did not expect them to be so shady. It would not be an exaggeration to describe it as grand. Song Shushue's pretty face changed when she saw that something was wrong with his expression. She hurriedly followed. Mr. Yi, don't do anything rash. That's right, Brother Yi. Let's talk things out. Don't be rash. Liu Min was shocked as well. He dragged the little fatty and followed immediately. Both of them thought that Yi-chan was infuriated by the outcome of the competition, so he could not control his emotions. Don't worry, I only want an explanation today. Yi-chan smiled lightly, but his eyes were cold. A middle-aged man carried a child and took a step forward. Brother Yi, we're all from Tiannan. I'll go in with you to ask for an explanation. That's right, let's go too. This competition is too unfair. It's obvious that they're playing us like monkeys. Another middle-aged woman stepped forward and said. At that moment, many parents who were guarding outside crowded together, their faces filled with indignation. Daddy! At that moment, the little girl in Yi-chan's embrace suddenly grabbed his collar and puffed her cheeks stubbornly. Daddy, let's go home. Mommy's still waiting for us. Although the little girl was less than 5 years old, she knew that her father would cause big trouble if he rushed in. I'm fine. Yi-chan's expression softened, and he looked at her with heartache. My dear daughter, this is the first principle that I'm going to teach you. Humans strive for dignity, and Buddhas strive for incense. Nobody can take what belongs to us away. Daddy, what if someone else takes it away? The little girl said weakly. Then beat him up. This is the second principle I want to teach you. Since logic doesn't work, use your fist to speak. Remember, Daddy is your sky. Yi-chan took a deep breath and walked toward the tournament hall with determination. Yi-chan's daughter could bleed. He just couldn't shed tears. This is bad. Seeing this scene, Li Yongmin's expression suddenly changed. Then he gritted his teeth and followed in. As soon as Yi-chan walked into the competition hall, he saw countless reporters gathered together. They kept taking pictures of Zhao Yuanliang from the Zhao family. There was a little boy standing next to him with a trophy in his hand, his face full of arrogance. It was the first prize winner, Zhao Yang. Seeing the sudden influx of so many people, the staff on the scene immediately responded and shouted, What are you doing? Get out! All of you get out! The leader wanted to push Yi-chan away by instinct. Pa! Yi-chan sent him flying with a slap. At that moment, the entire hall fell silent. Countless people stared at Yi-chan in disbelief with their eyes wide open. They didn't expect that someone would dare to make a move here. Kid, what are you doing? Zhao family's second young master, Zhao Yuanliang's face immediately darkened. Who's the judge? Yichen could not be bothered with him. Instead, he lifted his eyes and looked around the entire hall, trying to find the judge. His disregard made Zhao Yuanliang furious. Just as he was about to speak, a young man in uniform walked over. I'm the judge of this competition. What are you trying to do? I'm not trying to do anything. Yichen shook his head lightly and looked at him coldly. I just want to ask, what standards did you use to judge this competition? How can a person with mediocre skills get first place? Please explain it to me. A hint of panic flashed through the other party's eyes, and he could not help but look at the Zhao family's second young master, Zhao Yuanliang, subconsciously. How dare you? A cold snort was heard. Subsequently, Zhao Yuanliang swaggered over while pulling Zhao Yang along. Disdain appeared at the corner of his lips. Who do you think you are? How dare you question the judge's decision? That's right. Who do you think you are? How dare you question our decision? The young man from before sneered, as if he had some confidence. As he spoke to this point, he glanced coldly at the people behind Yichun. He could not help but say in a deep voice, Parents, I can guarantee with my dignity that the result of this competition is absolutely fair. I hope that you guys won't be used by someone with ulterior motives. I'll give you guys 3 minutes to leave. Otherwise, I'll call security. That's right. If everyone follows this brat to cause trouble, I, Zhao Yuanliang, can get the Jinling Municipal Bureau to arrest all of you and lock you up for 8 to 10 days. Zhao Yuanliang said with a fake smile. As soon as he said that, the parents behind Yichun could not help but take a few steps back. Subsequently, they pushed each other as they walked out, afraid that they would be left behind. At the end of the day, they were all ordinary people. How could they fight the entire gallery, not to mention the second young master of the wealthy Zhao family, Zhao Yuanliang? There were also many people standing outside who looked at Yichun gloatingly. That brat is done for. Anyone with a discerning eye knows that the first prize has been decided. How dare that brat question the result of the competition? That's right. The young master of the wealthy Zhao family is participating in the competition. If he can't even get first place, people will laugh their heads off if word gets out. Within a moment, only Tsang Shushue, Li Yongmin, and his son were left behind Yichun. Li Yongmin hesitated for a moment and eventually looked at Yichun. Brother Yi, let's go back. To him, Yichun's actions were extremely impulsive. After all, the Zhao family was the richest family in Jinling. They were not people, ordinary people like them, could afford to offend. Yeah, Mr. Yi don't. Tsang Shushue was so scared that she was about to cry. He hasn't answered my question. However, Yichun remained unmoved. He looked at the young judge again and enunciated word by word. I'll ask you one last time. What criteria did you use to judge? Brat, I'll say it one last time. Get out. Most of the people in front of him left because they were afraid of his harsh words. Zhao Yuanliang became more and more arrogant. I've seen many pieces of trash like you. Aren't you just upset that your child didn't win the prize? You want to cause trouble and blackmail them? But you've blackmailed the wrong person. Not only will the Jinling Gallery not buy it, even I won't take you seriously. That's right, 2 idiots. Zhao Yang, who was next to him, made faces at Yichun and his daughter. He grimaced and was proud of himself. Yichun suddenly sighed softly. Why are you sighing? Zhao Yuanliang scoffed. Yichun shook his head lightly. I sighed because I thought I could reason with you guys calmly. I didn't expect that I'd still have to rely on my fists in the end. Chapter 539. Are you saying that you're going to fight? Zhao Yuanliang was so angry that he laughed. Not only was he not nervous at all, but he looked at Yichun even more arrogantly. I've lived for over 20 years, and this is the first time I've seen someone as ignorant as you. Interesting. Although he said that, killing intent flashed through his eyes. Who in the entire Jinling did not know his name? The second young master of the Zhao family. Everyone would be polite to him. However, Yichun dared to cause trouble and even slap his face. Just when he was about to call the security guards, kneel. A thunderous voice exploded in his ears. Before he could react, he felt an inexplicable pressure coming at him. It was as if a mountain had descended and pressed him heavily to the ground. Plop! He knelt before Yichun in a daze. F***, brat, what did you do to me? Zhao Yunliang's face was flushed red as he struggled. However, he realized that the more he struggled, the greater the pressure on his body. In the end, he was prostrating on the ground. For a moment, the entire hall was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. What did they see? The Zhao family's second young master, the devil incarnate, was now kneeling on the ground with a single slap. Moreover, he was prostrating on the ground like a dead dog. One must know that Zhao Yuanliang was the Zhao family's second young master. Each in asking him to kneel now was no different from slapping the wealthy Zhao family's face. He would definitely not be able to withstand the Zhao family's wrath after this. Meanwhile, Song Shuxiue and Li Yongmin were dumbfounded. They knew that Yi Chun was bold, but they did not expect him to be so bold that he even dared to touch the Zhao family's second young master. It's over, it's over. When Li Yongmin snapped back to his senses, his face turned ashen as he stomped his feet. Brother Yi, you're in big trouble. Although he was only a contractor, the projects he took on were worth hundreds of millions. He had interacted with many people, so he naturally knew how terrifying the Zhao family was. Although he was worth over 100 million, it was nothing compared to the Zhao family. At the next moment, Zhao Yuanliang, who was kneeling on the ground, screamed miserably. Subsequently, he looked at Yi Chun with resentment. Brat, I guarantee that you're dead. You're dead. My Zhao family won't let you off. The Zhao family of Jin City? Yi Chun squinted and subsequently looked at Zhao Yang, who was looking at him in fear. I'll give you a chance. Call your family and get them to pick you up. At the same time, give me an explanation. Zhao Yang, who was 7 years old, shivered. In the end, he couldn't help but take out his phone and call. He cried, First uncle, second uncle is being bullied. Come quickly. Meanwhile, the onlookers gasped. They looked at Yi Chun as if they were looking at a dead man. Crazy. This was really crazy. Not only did he beat up a member of the Zhao family, he even dared to ask the Zhao family to come and pick him up. He even wanted the Zhao family to give him an explanation. Meanwhile, inside a manor in Jinling City, two middle-aged men sat opposite each other. There was a chess game in front of them. Beside them, there was a young girl in black holding her chin with both hands. She looked drowsy, as if she was not interested in chess. At this moment, the middle-aged man with the black chess piece placed his piece and looked at the young girl in black beside him. He could not help but smile. Brother Ning, Ruolin is about to turn 19, right? Is she married? She'll be 19 in a month. The middle-aged man with the white chess piece shook his head and said with a bitter smile, This girl is proud and arrogant. Her temper is even hotter than mine. Ordinary people can't control her. At this point, a trace of reminiscence appeared in his eyes. In this world, perhaps the only person who could control his daughter was the young man in white who carried a sword on his back, right? He wondered how he was doing in Beijing. The middle-aged man with the black chess piece smiled faintly. My second son, Yuan Liang, is about to turn 24. Brother Ning, if you don't mind, perhaps our families can unite by marriage. The middle-aged man with the surname Ning frowned slightly. Just as he was about to open his mouth to refuse, there was a burst of hurried footsteps from outside. Then, a handsome, calm young man walked in quickly. He first looked at the middle-aged man with the surname Ning, then walked to another middle-aged man and whispered a few words. The black chess piece in the middle-aged man's hand was broken. Brother Zhao, did something happen? The middle-aged man with the surname Ning asked. The middle-aged man with the surname Zhao said in a deep voice, What else could it be? Is my good-for-nothing second son causing trouble outside again? His tones seemed to be self-deprecating, but it was mixed with a trace of coldness. Although my second son is a good-for-nothing, he's usually arrogant and domineering. If he's taught a lesson, he asked for it. But now he's been beaten to the ground in public, and he's even asking the Zhao family to give him an explanation. He's clearly looking down on the Zhao family. At this point, he could not help but look at the young man next to him. Boss, go and get him yourself. While you're at it, see who is so arrogant. Yes, father, the young man responded. Just when he was about to leave, a cheer suddenly came from behind. Is there a good show to watch? You have to bring me along. I love watching shows. It was the sleepy girl in black who had woken up. Her pretty face was filled with excitement. The young man shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Let's go. Sister Ruolin. Jinling Gallery. Yi-chun retracted his hand slowly and lifted his head to look at the young judge next to him. Can we talk properly now? The young judge fell to the ground in shock. At that moment, a middle-aged man walked over quickly. Sir, I'm the director of Jinling Gallery, Su Anhua. Please don't cause trouble and leave immediately. Otherwise, I'll call the police. Get lost. Yi-chun flung his sleeve and sent him flying on the spot. His voice was like a bell that shook the entire place. I just want an explanation. Is it that difficult? Why do you have to force me to do it? Security, security, chase him out. Su Anhua roared furiously. As soon as he said that, 4 to 5 uniformed security guards with electric batons rushed to the scene and surrounded Yi-chun. A ferocious gleam flashed through Yi-chun's eyes. Just when he was about to attack, he heard a deep voice coming from the door. Wait! Everyone could not help but turn their heads to look. They saw an old man in a clear robe walking over slowly with his hands behind his back. There were many people following behind him. It's Master Wu, and the president of the Art Association, President Chun, and the rest. And Master Jiang from the calligraphy world. I didn't expect them to be alarmed. This is getting out of hand. Someone let out a cry of surprise, which then led to a series of gasps. P.S. Chapter 2 and more. Chapter 540. With the appearance of Wu Wenshan and the rest, the crowd parted to form a path for him. The president of the Calligraphy Association, the president of the Art Association, the founder of modern aesthetics, a famous painter. Everyone stared blankly at the old man in green and the rest. They were all shocked. It was because these people were the leaders of the art world in the entire Jinling and even the entire China. Any one of them could shake the entire art world with a stomp of their feet. However, all of them were here. The most shocking person was the old man walking at the front. The reason being that he was the #1 painter in Jinling, Master Wu Wenshan, who was known as the art saint. His disciples were all over the world, and his works attracted countless wealthy businessmen who treated them like treasures. However, he had appeared in a small competition. Brother Yi, Li Yongmin pulled Yi-chun back immediately and said anxiously, Listen to me. Apologize to Master Wu later. Let's forget about this today. Don't be impulsive. That's right, Mr. Yi. Let's not take this award. Meng Meng is still young. There will be many opportunities in the future. Song Shushua bit her lip and tried to persuade him. The VIPs who were present today were too shocking. Daddy, Meng Meng, who was in Yi-chun's embrace, twisted her body uneasily when she saw so many people. Don't worry, Daddy's here. Yi-chun patted the little girl's hand and lifted his eyes to take a good look at Wu Wenshan. He squinted. Art Saint Wu Wenshan? Master Wu, the director of Jinling Gallery, Su Anhua, hurriedly covered his swollen mouth and greeted him. He was very respectful, not daring to be disrespectful at all. Wu Wenshan frowned slightly. What happened to your mouth? It's all because of this brat. Su Anhua glanced at Yi-chun viciously. When had he, the director of Jinling Gallery, ever suffered such humiliation? At the same time, Zhao Yuanliang, who was kneeling on the ground, seemed to have seen his savior. Uncle Wu, you must uphold justice for me. Be starred. An old man with white hair walked out from behind Wu Wenshan. He looked at Yi-chun in a dignified manner. This is Jinling Gallery, not some street. How dare you behave so atrociously? That's right, young man. Release young Master Zhao now, or you'll have to bear the consequences. Another person stood up and scolded Yi-chun. However, Yi-chun remained unmoved. Wu Wenshan sighed softly and said, Young man, this old man is Wu Wenshan. Can you let Yuan Liang go for my sake? Don't worry, this old man will make sure nothing happens. He didn't expect that a competition that was supposed to be a formality would end up like this. Seeing that things were getting more and more intense, he had no choice but to step in and stop it. As his voice fell, Li Yongmin could not stop signaling Yi-chun with his eyes. On the other hand, Song Shushue was secretly tugging the corner of Yi-chun's shirt. Both of them were signaling Yi Chun to take the opportunity to leave. Let him go, Yi Chun said in a non-committal manner. This person has no upbringing. Since his family doesn't teach him well, I don't mind teaching him a lesson. As soon as these words came out, everyone's face was filled with anger. Li Yongmin and Song Shushue could only smile bitterly. Wu Wenshan's expression slowly darkened. Young man, do not entertain yourself. This old man will say it one last time. Let Yuan Liang go. I just want an explanation. Yi Chun sat down while carrying his daughter. Wu Wenshan flicked his sleeves and couldn't help but sneer. Previously, I was wondering what criteria they would use to determine the victor. Now this old man will answer. I'm the one who set their standards. I'm the number one painter in Jinling. Whoever I say is number one will be number one. He looked at Yi Chun firmly as he spoke to this point. His gaze did not allow anyone to question him. What's there to be unhappy about? That's right. Master Wu is the best painter in Jinling City. He has the right to judge anyone. His words attracted the praise of countless people, and there was no way to refute it. This was how the world was. Whatever the strong said, even a fart was fragrant. As for the weak, they had no chance to defend themselves. The best painter in Jinling? Art Saint? Yi Chun chuckled softly as if he was disdainful. You're just watching the sky from the bottom of a well. Do you think you're worthy of telling me what to do? Do you think you deserve to be crowned with a holy name? As his voice fell, everyone present widened their eyes and looked at him in disbelief. Shock was written all over their faces, thinking that they had heard wrongly. How dare he belittle Master Wu's standards? Zhao Yuanliang could not help but laugh when he heard that, as if he had heard something funny. Wu Wenshan's painting standards were publicly acknowledged in the country and even the world. Now, someone said that he was looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. How dare he say that? How dare you? Who do you think you are to belittle Master Wu? That's right, this brat is here to cause trouble. Chase him out. After the dead silence, there was a burst of cursing. If looks could kill, Yi Chun would have died countless times. Wu Wenshan raised his hand and gestured for everyone to quiet down. Then, he laughed out of extreme anger. Young man, does that mean you know painting too? Do you dare to compete with me? After saying that, he paused for a moment and said with a fake smile, as long as you have 30% of my standard. So what if your daughter gets first place in today's competition? Everyone laughed as well. Let this brat compete with Master Wu? Are you kidding? Even if he paints for 100 years, he won't be able to catch up to Master Wu. He's not worthy of competing with me. Yi Chun shook his head lightly. There was a hint of mockery at the corner of his lips. With such standards, my daughter alone can defeat him. B****. Wu Wenshan finally could not help but curse. He wanted him, the art saint, to compete with a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. You can't scold me like that. Right at this moment, there was a commotion outside. It seemed like someone was arguing. Before everyone could react, a woman walked in quickly. The woman looked at Wu Wenshan and stammered. Master Wu, bad news, bad news. A group of foreigners is outside. They said that your painting skills are not as good as theirs, and they've even issued a challenge to you. What? Wu Wenshan's expression turned grim. Another person had appeared to say that he was not good enough. Let them in. The president of the Art Association smirked coldly. I'd like to see who dares to look down on Master Wu. The woman replied and walked out. Soon, she led 3 men and 2 women in. All 5 of them were wearing kimonos, and they seemed to be from Dongying. The leader was a young man who was 15 or 16 years old. He had a delicate face and a pale face, but there was an undisguised arrogance between his brows. After seeing the young man's appearance, the expressions of the few leading figures in the art world behind Wu Wenshan changed at the same time, as if they had seen a formidable opponent. What? It's him. Chapter 541. When they saw the young man leading the Japanese group, Wu Wenshan's expression changed drastically. Subsequently, they exclaimed in unison, It's him, Sato Seiichi. When did he come to China? It's him, Sato Seiichi. When did he come to China? Even Wu Wenshan's gaze froze. Sato Seiichi, it's Sato Seiichi. Oh my God. Some of the onlookers recognized him one after another, and they could not help but scream in disbelief. Even Tsang Shushua was no exception. Li Ergua, who was behind the young men, could not help but ask, "Ms. Tsang, who is this Sato Seiichi?" Yi Chun and Li Yongmin looked at Tsang Shushua at the same time. Tsang Shushua took a deep breath in and looked at the Japanese young man with her beautiful eyes. Sato Seiichi is the youngest genius artist in Japan. Rumor has it that he started painting at the age of 4 and comprehended the art Dao at the age of 8. When he was 10, his works caused a sensation in Japan. It's said that when this young man was 11, he challenged Japan's art saint, Ishikawa Ichiro. Then, at this point, she suddenly paused, and her face turned pale. The little fatty rolled his eyes. Then what happened? Ms. Tsang, tell us. Are you trying to make us die of anxiety? Rumor has it that this young man created a hell's map of China during the competition. Art Saint Ishikawa Ichiro only took a glance at it and was unable to extricate himself. Tsang Shushua paused for a moment and said with an unnatural expression, when everyone realized that something was wrong and tried to wake Ishikawa Ichiro up, they realized that Ishikawa Ichiro was already dead. Her voice was neither loud nor soft, but it spread to every corner of the competition hall. Everyone could not help but have goosebumps when they heard that. He died after taking a look at his painting? That's impossible. It's true. A friend of mine in Japan mentioned this to me. Later on, Sato Seiichi became the youngest art saint in Japan. It's said that his paintings can make people hallucinate. A woman in luxurious clothes stammered. Everyone could not help but look at Sato Seiichi in disbelief. Their eyes were filled with fear. Master Wu had finally met his match. At the same time, a young man in a suit slowly walked out from behind Sato Seiichi. The man nodded at everyone politely. He then looked at Wu Wenshan and said in the purest Chinese, "Kazuhiko in no way greets the Chinese art saint, Master Wu. Mr. Inoue, why did you bring your men to me today?" Wu Wenshan looked at him expressionlessly. To be precise, he looked at Sato Seiichi, who was behind him. Kazuhiko Inoue smiled warmly and said, "The person behind Inoue is Japan's new generation's art saint, Mr. Sato. Mr. Sato has long heard of China's art saint, Master Wu. Therefore, he traveled across the ocean to China personally to exchange art Dao with Master Wu. This person was very eloquent. He was clearly here to cause trouble and settle scores. But when he spoke, it became an exchange of painting paths. Impudent. Before Wu Wenshan could speak, an old man behind him stood up and berated, "Mr. Inoue, what kind of person do you think our Grandmaster Wu is? Is it something that can be challenged at will?" "That's right. It's fine if you want to challenge us, but you have to say in advance. We'll fight after we confirm the date of the match. How can you be so reckless? As expected of a barbarian country." Another person voiced out his refusal. These people were all big shots in Jinling's art world. Their purpose was to challenge Wu Wenshan too suddenly, and he was not mentally prepared. If he did not perform well, it would be China's face that would be ruined. After all, the other party was someone who had defeated an art saint. But our visas are about to expire. We have to return to China by tomorrow morning at the latest. I wonder if Grandmaster Wu has time today? Kazuhiko in no way frowned. "No, get lost. I'll beat you to death if you ask again." Many of the onlookers cursed out loud. Kazuhiko Inoue's expression was a little ugly. He turned around and said something to Sato Seiichi behind him. The young art saint, Sato Seiichi, led everyone out. It seemed that he was planning to leave. When he reached the door, Sato Seiichi stopped in his tracks. He turned around and looked at Wu Wenshan and the rest. He grinned disdainfully. The Chinese are a bunch of losers who don't dare to accept the challenge. At the end of his sentence, he even gave them a thumbs up. As soon as he said that, everyone at the scene went into an uproar. Countless people rolled up their sleeves and wanted to rush forward to stop them. There were even people who kept throwing things at Kazuhiko Inoue and the rest. On the other hand, Sato Seiichi was not afraid. Instead, he became even more disdainful. "Wait," Wu Wenshan, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said in a powerful voice, "Since you guys want to fight, then let's fight. I'll accept your challenge." although he did not want to fight because he was afraid of Kato Seiichi. He had no choice but to fight. That was because he knew that if he let the Japanese leave, negative news like he, the art saint, Wu Wenshan, did not dare to accept the challenge would spread on the internet soon. It might even escalate to a matter of national dignity. Very good. Sato Seiichi revealed a smile. Following that, the staff of Jinling Art Museum discussed with Kazuhiko Inoue and the rest. They unanimously decided to set the venue of the competition in a wetland park opposite Jinling Art Museum. Half an hour later, almost everyone gathered in the wetland park. As far as the eye could see, it was extremely crowded with hundreds of people. Sato Seiichi and Wu Wenshan stood on an empty space in the wetland park. There was a man-made lake beside them. It was autumn and winter, and the lake water was cold and motionless, as if it was stagnant. May I know which of you will go first? The few big shots from the art world who were selected to be the judges looked at each other and asked. Just as Wu Wenshan was about to speak, Kazuhiko Inoue took a step forward and said, Mr. Sato feels guilty for suddenly visiting Master Wu. In order to express his apology, he has decided to go first. After saying that, he clapped his hands. Immediately, two Japanese men opened their backpacks and took out a wide and long canvas. The two of them grabbed one end of the canvas and opened the blank canvas like a white wall. After all the preparations were done, Sato Seiichi took a step forward and closed his eyes after taking a deep breath. At the same time, he picked up the brush and kept waving it on the canvas. His movements were as smooth as flowing water. The entire place was silent. Everyone widened their eyes and paid close attention to everything, afraid that they would miss any detail. Even so, they could not help but be agitated. He's actually painting with his eyes closed. Oh my God, how is that possible? I can't see anything with my eyes closed. What if I draw wrongly? Many people exclaimed in their hearts. They looked at Sato in a different way. He was an expert, an absolute expert. Chapter 542, Blind Painting. Wu Wenshan, who was his opponent, also saw this scene. He could not help but feel a stir in his heart. This is blind painting. I thought that no one in this world could do it. I didn't expect it to actually exist. For artists, eyes were too important, because art needed eyes to capture it. Therefore, among the famous artists in the world, almost no blind person could become an artist. Without eyes, how could they sketch in color? Sato Seiichi's challenge was even more difficult. There were hundreds of people present. As long as any one of them made a sound, it might disturb him and disrupt his rhythm. Most importantly, Sato Seiichi's canvas was close to 5 meters long and 1 meter wide. It was too difficult to materialize what he had in mind. It was like a blind man living in his own home. He was very familiar with every piece of wood, brick, and tile, but if he was placed on a busy street, he would not be able to move an inch. This guy is truly a monster. Looking at his methodical rhythm, Wu Wenshan's heart was extremely flustered. Tiny beads of sweat flowed down his face. This old man has a great reputation. Am I going to fall here today? Even he was like this. Moreover, the few big shots of the Jinling art world who were the judges were already dumbfounded, as if they could not believe what was happening before their eyes. At that moment, no one dared to make sound. They were all shocked by Sato Seiichi. Even Ming Ming, who was in Yi Chen's embrace, was no exception. She watched the scene with her eyes wide open. Spiritual power? No one noticed the smile on Yi Chen's face. He's clearly an ordinary person, but he has spiritual power that's 3 times more powerful than ordinary people. No wonder he became famous when he was young. No wonder he dared to paint with his eyes closed. No wonder he dared to be so engrossed. Spiritual power was something that could not be seen or touched, but everyone could feel their own spiritual power. Spiritual power could be understood as energy, heart, spirit, focus, perception, intelligence, and even perseverance. Take the show The Strongest Brain, for example. Strong contestants could compete under the pressure of thousands of spectators. This required a lot of focus, perception, and deduction ability. Sato Seiichi's spiritual power was obviously much stronger than theirs. More than 20 minutes later, Sato Seiichi put away his brush and slowly opened his eyes. It's done. Everyone couldn't help but look at the nearly 5-meter-long canvas. Just this one glance had caused him to sink in. Hell's Map. Sato Seiichi had drawn Japan's Hell Map, also known as the Ten Realms Map. This kind of map was originally carved on stone statues and walls as murals. It required the painstaking efforts of countless craftsmen. But now, it had been completed by Sato Seiichi on the canvas. Moreover, his painting included the Hall of Hell, the Bridge of Helplessness, and the 18 levels of hell. It could be said that this Hell's Map contained everything that a person had to experience after death in the netherworld. Countless emotionless and pained souls wandered in the painting. Countless shocking and cruel punishments seemed to be vivid in their minds. Ghost. There's a ghost. Someone screamed and fell to the ground. That person looked at the painting in horror. No, don't pull out my tongue. Don't come over. Another blood-curdling scream rang out. Another person seemed to have gone mad. Magistrate, please spare my life. Please spare my life. I won't dare to do bad things anymore. I have money. I can give you a lot of money. In just a few breaths of time, almost all the hundreds of people present had fallen into Sato Seiichi's Hell Map. All sorts of expressions appeared on their faces. Some stuck their tongues out, some rolled on the ground, and some even jumped into the artificial lake and shouted not to be put into the frying pan. Even Song Shushue, Li Yongmin, and his son, who were next to Yi Chun, were no exception. The three of them were shaking like a sieve. Daddy, what's wrong with them? Meng Meng widened her eyes in confusion. These uncles and aunties were fine earlier, so why did they become like this now? They're all hallucinating. Yi Chun shook his head lightly. Meng Meng was getting more and more confused. But why are Daddy and I fine? That's because you're my darling. How can you be affected by a mere hallucination? Yi Chun smiled. Subsequently, he lifted his hand and patted Song Shushue and the other two on their shoulders. The three of them jolted and snapped back to their senses. Song Shushue staggered and said while still in shock, Mr. Yi, ghost. I saw a ghost. It's so scary. It's just an illusion. You guys are fine now. Yi Chun smiled. Bleck. Wu Wenshan's eyes went blank for a moment before he spat a mouthful of blood and took a few steps back. Illusion. This painting can actually give people illusions. When he looked at the Hell's Map again, his eyes were filled with fear, as if he had just experienced something terrifying. He raised his eyes and sized up the people around him who were hallucinating. He sank his energy into his dantian and shouted, Wake up now. What are you waiting for? Bang. Everyone shuddered in shock. When they looked around again, they realized that what they saw had disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by all sorts of ugly scenes. They could not help but feel ashamed. Only then did they realize that they had fallen into an illusion. Even so, they still did not dare to look at the Hell's Map again. Sato Seiichi saw everyone's reaction, and a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. Subsequently, he said to Wu Wenshan, Master Wu, it's your turn. There's no need to compete. Unexpectedly, Wu Wenshan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Sato Seiichi looked displeased. Why? Are you going back on your word, Master Wu? No. Wu Wenshan sighed softly. You've already reached the stage of painting Dao Soul. I admit defeat, so there's no need to compete anymore. The moment he fell into the illusion of the Hell's Map, he knew he had lost. Painting Dao Soul, this was what he had been pursuing all his life. He did not expect a foreign young man to do it. Thinking to this point, he seemed to have aged dozens of years in an instant. As soon as he finished speaking, the hundreds of people who had woken up in the surroundings cried out in disbelief. They did not expect Master Wu to admit defeat before he even started painting. Especially after falling into the illusion, they felt that they had made a fool of themselves. They hoped that Wu Wenshan would win. That way, they could regain some face. On the other hand, the few big shots from the Jinling art world moved their lips, but they did not say anything in the end. Sato Seiichi's painting Dao had reached a level that they could not touch. Hearing Wu Wenshan's words, the Japanese, led by Sato Seiichi, cheered. Master Wu. Kazuko, in no way, adjusted his glasses and looked at Wu Wenshan while shaking his head slightly. Before we came to China, We all said that China was full of talents and that their painting Tao was extraordinary. However, to be honest, we're very disappointed now. Wu Wenshan closed his eyes in humiliation. At this moment, he was no longer as calm and carefree as before. That's all there is to China. They don't deserve to be called a big country. Another Japanese sneered. As soon as he said that, everyone was furious. Song Shuxue and Li Yongmin subconsciously clenched their fists. They wanted nothing more than to charge forward and argue with him, but they were powerless. Why? You're not convinced? The Japanese young man from before had a mocking smile on his face. The strongest artist in China has already been defeated, and he admitted defeat on his own accord. Apart from gritting your teeth at us, what else can you Chinese people do? This is just like how you almost lost back then. You can only roar at us like a coward. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes and hearts of the Chinese people were burning with flames. Anger. The anger of being humiliated. The anger of being humiliated and being unable to retaliate. I'm now a sinner of China. Wu Wenshan closed his eyes in shame. This is going too far. Song Shuxue gritted her teeth in anger. Her pretty face was flushed red from excitement. If only someone could stand out and defeat them now. In fact, more than one person among the hundreds of people present had the same thought as her. However, everyone knew that it was impossible. After all, Wu Wenshan, the art saint, had already been defeated. Let's go. Sato Seiichi shook his head slightly and turned to leave. At that moment, a calm voice resounded. A mere barbaric country has slapped China in the face, and you want to leave just like that? Chapter 2, there's one more chapter. Recently, there's a new round of anti-pornography and illegal publications. All supernatural books with the word ghost in their titles have been taken off the shelves and renamed. Another 6 chapters of this book have been censored. They can only be released after they've been edited. So, there's another 6 chapters missing. End of this chapter.